to get it. I'm on the mission, snap any minute, casually winning. Stop tripping on me, stop dissing on me. Yeah, I got a dream, can't take it from me. My fire's burning, I'm always learning. Tell me where to go, man, I'm on a journey. Yeah, I can't explain it, I get excited. Keep it 300, King Leonidas. Strap in, cause it's gonna be a long ride. Working on me every single day and night. There comes a time when your worlds will collide. If it's holding you back, push it right to the side. Ain't got no time for no fear. I work too hard to get here. Ain't got no time for no fear. I work too hard to get here. I don't got the time, put me in, coach. I've been going hard, time to let it show. Everything raw, give it to me now. Let me have the spot, man, it's going down. Gotta get it here, I don't wanna wait. Take what I want, then I go train. Gotta get a win, I won't lose the game. This is my year, I ain't gonna break. Strap in, cause it's gonna be a long ride. Working on me every single day and night. There comes a time when your worlds will collide. If it's holding you back, push it right to the side.
On another level, I will never settle. Mind over matter, get the gold medal. On another level, I will never settle. Mind over matter, get the gold medal.
Ain't got no time for no fear. I work too hard to get here. Ain't got no time for no fear. I work too hard to get here.
On another level, I will never settle. Mind over matter, get the gold medal. On another level, I will never settle. Mind over matter, get the gold medal. On another level, I will never settle. Mind over matter, get the gold medal. On another level, I will never settle. Mind over matter, get the gold medal.
Ain't got no time for no fear. I work too hard to get here. Ain't got no time for no fear. I work too hard to get here. Ain't got no time for no fear. I work too hard to get here. Ain't got no time for no fear. I work too hard to get here.
Welcome to the place where dreams come true, where everything you want can be yours, if and only if you're willing to work for them, you're willing to hurt for them, but most of all, you're willing to be first for them. Look, I'm going straight to the top. I don't know how I would stop, like it or not. I got some goals that I'm hitting. You hear what I'm spitting, it's hot. Look what I got, whole lot of passion and pain. The road to success is insane. Stay out my lane, cause I'm on a mission. I'm getting what stands in my way. Yeah, I'm a beast, I wouldn't play with me, baby. The way that I'm training is crazy and I do it daily. You wanna talk about drive? I got more drive than Mercedes, I've never been lazy. I'm in the room, it's a red alert. You wanna compete, well get better first. I got 10 toes in the dirt, push through the hurt just to show them my worth. I'm the best. Yeah, I'm the best. I never stress. I know what's next. I'm who they test, like we playing chess. But I'm unimpressed, so now let me flex. Yeah, I'ma work through the struggle and hurt, cause I know my worth, and I gotta be first. Yeah, I gotta be first. Look, I don't want anyone's sympathy. I understand what it's meant for me. I give my focus and energy. If it's meant to be, then it's meant to be. But mentally, I'm undefeated. They hear that and say I'm conceited, like there's no reason. Like I don't beat them and come back again just to teach them that when you work under pressure, you reach higher measures. They'll try and bring you down, but you cannot let them, and only get better and focus on cheddar. Eye on the prize and you'll become a legend. Like, when I'm in the room, it's a red alert. You wanna compete, well get better first. I got 10 toes in the dirt, push through the hurt just to show them my worth. I'm the best. Yeah, I'm the best. I never stress. I know what's next. I'm who they test, like we playing chess. But I'm unimpressed, so now let me flex. Yeah, I'ma work through the struggle and hurt, cause I know my worth, and I gotta be first. Yeah, I gotta be first. They don't know what's gotten into me, how'd I turn pain into energy. Through all the struggle and hurt, remember my worth, and that's why I gotta be first.
dime on the mission, snap any minute, casually winning. Stop tripping on me, stop dissing on me. Yeah, I got a dream, can't take it from me. My fire's burning, I'm always learning. Tell me where to go, man, I'm on a journey. Yeah, I can't explain it.
We're back for week 2 of our Call of Duty Mobile action here in NA, and although it seems early, this week will actually be a very important one for some of our teams.
Yeah, absolutely. We're looking to the likes of Mayhem, for example, one of the teams we were looking for to be one of our top 3 teams in North America. Well, last week didn't have such a good go of things against the likes of LG, so this week they're looking for a better ride.
Even though Rejects started off Masters without an organization, it did not slow them down one bit, as they actually saw an off-broadcast nuke to get things started. We'll see if they can carry that momentum with themselves as they take on Mayhem.
Which of course means we're in for another exciting week of action, so let's dive into it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Snapdragon Pro Series.
Till a player on top, know it. Rooftop, penthouse suite. If you really want it, gotta own it. Fly through it, we was at the lowest. Blood, sweat, tears, the components. Riding all year, now's the moment. We are not friends, we are opponents. Yeah, I'm coming for mine. Yeah, I'm making a play, the game on the line. Yeah, I've been on the grind. Yeah, jump in the spot, I made it my time. Yeah, look in the sky. Yeah, the stars align, no shade to shine. Can't stop it already. Emotional work and devotion, we put in this time. Look, you won't stop.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Snapdragon Pro Series, where today is going to be kicking off week number 2 of our Challenge Season 4 for NA. It's going to be a really, really fun day of action here today. I can't wait to get into all of it. My name is Glitter Explosion. I'll be your host the entire challenge season. And you know I don't do it alone, okay? We, of course, have Infinity and Bobby matching in almost identical outfits, back and ready to go for today. How are you feeling, Brody?
I swear it's unintentional. Last week it was you, this week I've got it with Bobby. Honestly, look, I just love matching with you guys. It's a vibe for sure. What else is a vibe, by the way, is this studio. We've revamped it entirely for the Call of Duty Mobile broadcast this time around. It's a whole lot of green. I'm really glad I didn't wear green this week.
Yeah, that's fair. Bobby, how are you?
I'm feeling good. I'm glad that I did not wear green like you did, because you're really blending in with all the foliage and everything else. I think everybody in chat would type yup right now if they agree, but it's some banger matchups tonight, and most certainly last matchup is going to be one everybody wants to stick around for.
Listen, if you want to bring chat into this, we will. We'll see how many people are colorblind that think that this gray is in fact green. It's gray, but let's talk about last week, okay? In case you missed it, there's a lot to recap of everything that went down, and that's going to kind of lay the groundwork for what we have here this time around. We've got some highlights, so talk me through it, boys.
Ooh, well, I'll tell you what, last week was not a good week for a number of the teams in North America. It was our first week of Call of Duty Mobile action here with SPS Season 4. We were expecting some hyper-competitive matches, and I think only one of the matches ended up going to Game 5. Every single other one was a 3-0, and certainly on broadcast for a number of the teams, it just didn't end well. This is Disciples and NBA to kick off the week. It was a 3-0 to Disciples, and really did set the stage for NBA, who, by the way, to be fair, NBA came in very last minute. I don't think necessarily expected to be here. So they did well enough. But I think, you know, going into kind of this week's of action, we need to see kind of better search and destroy, better control from them, just better fundamentals all around, I think.
Yeah, and Team NBA, I did see some of the players playing opens and playing some rank S scrims, so maybe a little bit of experience there for them to have an opportunity to start to feel a little more confident. Obviously, Sane in the same boat as they went up against Rejects and got absolutely steamrolled on just about every map. I will say they didn't look too terrible on the control, and I think that's one they could definitely look to capitalize on, especially against some of the other teams that might not be quite as comfortable. I believe they did end up taking one round in that raid control, so very solid starting point for them. We'll see if they can build on it.
Yeah, it is worth saying again, Rejects is not an easy roster to take down for your first match the entire season. So I think for Sane to come out and be competitive in moments, we'll say this much, against that roster, I think is a good takeaway from them from that series. Then over towards Goofy Goobers and Truly, and this was actually, I think, a pretty interesting one on the whole. It was a pretty competitive series throughout. It was a good first look, I think, at Truly to see what we're bringing to the table. This is one of the rosters rosters that we were looking at to be kind of one of our potential top 4 contenders. And given also how competitive Goofy Goobers have looked as a roster, I think it's kind of a good look for them to say, hey, look, we've got 2 top 5, top 6 teams potentially that went head-to-head. Again, pretty close all the way throughout, just like you said. Goofy Goobers managed to take a round away in the control as well. But in the end, it was another 3-0.
Yeah, then we had our matchup of the night, match number 4, same as we will have tonight, Team Mayhem, this time against Luminosity. It was not very close in the hard point, but the search and destroy going all the way down to overtime definitely did not disappoint. Opportunity at redemption for that LG team following their 7-0 at World Champs. And then moving into the control, once again, it was competitive, but this being the go-to map for LG was going to be difficult to handle. Then obviously we do have our off-stream results as well, like you mentioned. Only one game going past a 3-0, and that was Team Disciples up against Goofy Goobers. And it was a pretty tight one all the way through.
Yeah, for sure. And that is really important to note. Again, we're looking at 2 teams that are around kind of that top 6 point. These are teams that are going to be competing for the final spot. Presuming, again, the top 3 teams, the trifecta of North American teams that made it champs do make it into playoffs. Going to Game 5, all of those games being really close is important. But what kind of draws my attention is Truly versus LG. That being a 3-0 to LG, it was Truly's first real test against the top 3 to see what they're made of. And again, just like Disciples and Goofy Goobers, all close maps, but in the end, it was a 3-0.
Yeah, now that everybody kind of understands where we're coming from in relation to last week, because a lot of that stuff will be important for today. We'll take a look at the leaderboard as well. After all was said and done, it was Luminosity, Disciples, and Rejects at the top with 2 O's. A couple of teams, though, only got an opportunity to play 1 match last week, Bobby, so this still isn't like 100% even and accurate yet.
Yeah, obviously Team Mayhem, the one team that we expected to maybe be higher, but given the fact that you're going up against Luminosity in the only match that you played, I don't think you can fault them too terribly much at being in that number 5 spot. Now, with that being said, they do have a really tough matchup tonight going up against Rejects. I think they're 2 teams that are really well matched. Obviously, we've seen them go head-to-head a number of times over the past few months, and that's definitely going to be one to watch, as that will likely set the tone for the rest of Masters.
Now, obviously, taking into consideration the fact that this is the stage of the competition where our players are trying to play through the challenge season, they then have to make it into the challenge finals. That's our top 4, and that's a conversation we have a lot. You mentioned it when we were looking at those highlights as well, Brody. There are some teams that we're expecting to be up in that, either definitively in that top 2 area, some around the bubble. There are some teams that if they don't have a good performance here today, then that will be almost impossible for them to even achieve.
Yeah, if you're like sitting at 0-2 at the end of week 1, you're in a not so great spot. If you're sitting at 0-3, 0-4 at the end of week 2, oh boy, you might as well be looking at kind of flights home from home at this point. It's not a good spot to be in whatsoever. But, you know, looking again at kind of the top 4, top 5, I'm kind of looking forward to the end of the week to get to the point where we kind of know, right, here are the competitive teams alongside those top 3 that we were talking about. Here are the ones that now we're sitting at kind of like what we say, like 1-1, 1-2, whatever kind of their record is at the end of the week. That is what I'm looking forward to seeing, kind of those teams really come out and say, we are the teams now that we're going to contend with the top 3 for.
All right, well, we've talked about them a couple times. They're definitely going to be a storyline that will follow all day today, specifically because we also will be seeing them later on in the day. But let's talk about Mayhem. Let's talk about Rejects. We will start with Mayhem. How did you feel about their performance out of the gate in week 1, Bobby?
I didn't feel great about it. I will say, obviously, they're playing with a new player that they haven't been alongside for quite a while now, and Teabag, and it's going to take time for that chemistry to build. I think especially in the hard point, they're not a team that's really been known for their hard point in the past. Definitely very much an S&D dominant team. So the fact that they were at least able to get the S&D into an overtime is a good sign. Hard point absolutely has to improve. I don't know if there maybe need to be changes in regards to the pick bans and whatever that is, but also going 3-1 in the control, not the worst thing in the world, but once again, you've definitely got to bring your A game going up against Rejects.
Definitely some glimmers, like Bobby's saying, of opportunity there. Do you think that this will be easier on them this time around, now going up against the Rejects as like our match at the end of the day, like that match of the week?
Easier is a word. I don't know. The thing is, it's kind of hard to gauge post-Rostermania, right? I mean, this is the big thing. We know that pretty much every single team has made a change, and so what we're looking for is to kind of gauge where are these teams sitting. At the moment, from first impressions, LG seem like they are the #1 team, but that is based off a match versus Mayhem, where Mayhem, I don't think, had Kings playing in the lineup, and that's something that was notable. We saw Jesus Saves. I think we were expecting him to be playing on the sub. he wasn't. He was playing in the main lineup for the roster, so we're not sure if that's a permanent thing. There are still a lot of questions around these top 3 teams. I don't think there's anything too definitive yet, but by the end of the day, we will at the very least have a look at kind of Mayhem versus Tribe. It's a rematch, and where those 2 teams in particular lie post-Rostermania.
I'm excited for it, and we keep talking about it. We might as well show you all at home. This is the schedule for the day. We keep mentioning Team Mayhem versus Rejects. You have to wait until the last match of the day because that's what we're building up to, all of the anticipation. But we still have 3 more matches on the day. Bobby, talk to me about them.
Obviously, first one's going to be Truly versus Sane. One thing we talked about a lot last week was how locked in are Truly going to be? How serious are they going to take this competition? As Space mentioned, like, this is just kind of him playing with his friends for fun. With that being said, they went down to the wire up against Luminosity. I think especially you look at the Search and Destroy and the Control, and they played it just as competitively as Team Mayhem did. So that's definitely an opportunity for them to continue to look to prove themselves. I think they should be able to handle business up against Sane fairly easily. But once again, this is not a matchup where you want to mess around.
So everybody at home, if there's a team that you're following specifically, mark down the time around which their matchup will begin so you don't miss a single second of what we've got going on here today when it comes to some of your favorites. But if you do happen to miss it, don't worry, okay? You can always check us out on social media. If you go over to X, to Insta, to Facebook, all of the updates every single week will be posted on our social media platforms, so you can make sure you're keeping up to date with everything over there. Or you can go to our Discord at discord.gg/Snapdragon Pro Series. There you can join the community, talk all things Call of Duty Mobile, find people in your region to play with, and of course, get some more of those updates. And then you'll have simply no excuse for not knowing what's going on. And then worst case scenario, you also can go back and watch the whole VOD. We have that online on Twitch, on YouTube, and then you can find every single thing. For all we know, people might become analysts, some coaches out of it, all right? Or they might end up in the next season of SPS. Bobby, weren't you supposed to play this season? Didn't you say you were going to play? What happened?
I didn't want to rob anybody of a spot, you know? It didn't feel right just knowing that I was probably going to get an opportunity to cast. And not all those guys can have that opportunity. So I didn't want to interfere because, you know, it's just the level that Bobby Bucket Dino Nuggets are on.
I miss Bobby Bucket's Dino Nuggets, man. All right. Well, now that everybody at home knows the backstory from last week, you kind of know what to expect when it comes to the schedule here today. We have a lot that we can focus on. You mentioned it before. We have Truly versus Sane as our first match. Before we start getting into all of that, though, give me your kind of high-level impressions of this matchup here, Brody.
It's going to be a weird one, I think, because, again, Truly, this is going to be another test for them. I do not want them to take this too lax, right? I don't want them to go in too relaxed towards this one, because if they do, they could end up being really surprised by Sane. I don't think Sane are a bad roster whatsoever. I think we just mentioned that when we talk about the highlights of week number 1. Fundamentally, they are perfectly fine. They just got outgunned in their first match of the week. So I really don't want them to kind of come into this one and think Sane are easy pickings and then get surprised. So I think it's going to be a test for that for sure. That said, I still do think this should be an easy ride for Truly. Given what we know about this roster, kind of just the talent on side, this should be a good match for them.
Okay, all right. Now, obviously, all of our teams also have had a week in between the last time they played to now. So there is an opportunity for some of them to make some changes, make some adjustments to any mistakes or any strategies they might have wanted to refine. Bobby, do you think that's enough time for some of the teams that maybe didn't give us as much of a performance as we were hoping for to bring it back here for this week?
Absolutely. I think especially the teams that are like new to COD Mobile competitive, like we're going to see the largest improvements out of them because they have the most gap to cover in that skill gap that we're seeing between our top 3, top 4, and the rest of the squad. So hopefully they are doing their research, taking a look at the VODs, and also just getting reps in. That's going to be the most important thing because at the end of the day, that's what these guys need to be able to improve. And I've got a feeling we're going to see that improvement throughout the season.
All right, it's going to be a really, really fun day. And we're about to get into our first match. But before we do, we were waiting to see if it was possible. We have an interview with Solo. I'm excited to do this. We're going to bring him on in to the show so that we can chat a little bit about the squad, about how they're feeling after week number 1. There we go.
Hello.
Hi, how are you? How are you feeling?
I'm doing well. In all honesty, forgot I was doing this interview, so I look crazy. So could be doing better.
You forgot about us.
I did. I apologize 1,000 times for it.
Now my feelings are hurt. You know what? I'll let it go this time, but that means you're going to be stuck in another interview at some point, at any other point in the challenge season now, and this is kind of your own fault.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
All right, tell me what you guys were feeling like after last week. Obviously, you have a lot of expectations on your shoulders, a team that everyone is looking at as one of the top 2 contenders here. So how are you guys just overall? Where's your mental at?
Overall, I think we're doing pretty good. I like to keep things simple, focus on the game, not really listen to much of the noise. I think the team definitely respects that idea as well. We don't really spend too much time on social media, stuff like that. So really just focus on the game, trying to play as best we can.
I like that.
Yeah, same do I. So I kind of want to talk about Tribe for a second here, right? Because this is one of the big things that we didn't quite expect. I'm not sure you guys expected it as well before we get into the season. Kind of what were your thought process coming into the season, right? Because I don't think you kind of expected to be the rejects.
Oh, yeah. Well, kind of. It was semi-expected. We knew Tribe was trying to branch off away from esports. That was something we had known going into this year, actually. So it wasn't it wasn't like the rug got pulled out underneath us, but it was definitely an interesting change. I mean, that with the pickup of Envy, I thought it was a pretty good change of pace for sure.
Sure.
All right. Do you guys have any prospects in regards to other organizations? Any leaks that you want to pass off to us on broadcast?
I cannot leak anything, but Bobby, from experience, I'm sure you will find it out your own way, and it will be leaked in the Fortnite for
All
sure.
right. Fair enough.
Oh, I like it. I like it. You are keeping it close to the chest here, Solo. Now, obviously, you guys have a big matchup today. How are you feeling heading into that?
Feeling pretty good about it. Pretty confident. In our last matchup, we were able to get the best of them. Been having some good practice. Actually, in the middle of a scrim with LG right now as we speak. So good warm up, hoping to play well.
All right. Well, I don't want to interrupt the warm up that you've got going on. I'll let you go so you can finish that and prepare for a little bit later on. Before you leave, though, do you have any shout outs that you want to do?
Shout out all the viewers, man. Couldn't do this without y'all.
Okay, Solo, thank you very much for jumping on. Even if you forgot, we will forgive you, and we'll be seeing you up here soon.
Yes, ma'am.
That was fun. See, Bobby, there might be something to leak, and you might have some insider info in just a short while.
I got to start asking around.
You already know, let's be honest.
No, I don't. Legitimately, I don't.
If you do, save it for like week 3 or 4 so that we have a surprise towards the end of the season, or maybe even for the finals when it's really epic, which means if you're at home and you're watching, you have to be here every single week to find out when Bobby leaks whatever magic information he might or might not know. That's what I'm hearing. Okay, now that we got a chance to talk to Solo, let's talk about match number 1. You already gave us a little bit of a preview when it comes to this Truly versus Sane matchup, but let's talk about this. We got to interview, like you mentioned, Bobby, we spoke to Space last time around, and he made it sound like they were just kind of very casual about it. Like they were going to enjoy the experience, play with some friends, and just see where it went, even though they're all very talented.
Yeah, since that time, I've heard things about who they're working with as far as coaches and some of the things that have gone on with the team. And the more I hear, the more I feel confident that this team could actually make some noise, not just to make playoffs, but to actually have a legitimate chance at making it to Masters in Sao Paulo as well. And once again, like, this is obviously a very talented team. Some of the players have been on rosters that just simply didn't work out in the past, but across the board, it's players that we've seen dominate at different levels. I am curious if maybe we see Coding come in for Lethal this week, because that was the one very noticeable thing that I saw last week. Lethal was lagging significantly behind in the matches that Truly were playing, especially as far as the scoreboard goes, so maybe an opportunity for a substitution, but I am excited to see what they can do.
Well, as you can see here, we mentioned Space. Quite the career path here, Brody. Obviously, formerly of Tribe, now on Truly. Talk to me about Space.
Yeah, he's a really good player. It's kind of a surprise, I think, for a lot of people that Tribe even dropped him, to be honest with you. He's just such a solid guy. You can see he's been on top teams over the course of his career. And now I think he's going to be a really valuable addition to this Truly roster. I think he proved that already in week 1. He's already got experience with a number of players on the roster, namely Forsaken. And so I think, or Goatsaken, as his name is according to this graphic. So I think, just that alone provides so much value. And I think that's already borne out in the statistics from week 1 as well. I think Space is one of the highest performing players on this roster.
I love that we're getting a little bit of a visual improvement here on these rosters, now getting a chance to see some of these players. So now that we've gotten to break down Truly a little bit, let's talk about their opponents in Sane. They're going to have to bring a lot to the table if they want to topple the likes of Truly.
Yeah, obviously they didn't have a great showing last week. These are players that I kind of gassed up a little bit. I think especially Jinkatsu. I felt like he could have a decent performance and wasn't really there. Obviously, Bright, one of the other players that we did see on that limited squad last challenge season. But across the board, most of these guys are really in the proving grounds right now, trying to make a name for themselves. And one big performance could potentially open up opportunities for them in the future. So hopefully we see them continue to bring their A game. Is, once again, not a lot that we can bring into this just because of how new these players are.
I think this will be a good way to start the day off, though. There are lots of teams that need to get some wins on the board after today. And don't forget, everybody at home, while we're running these matches here on stream, we also will be running off-stream matches as well, like you saw when we had the graphic from what happened last week. And every time we get results from those off-stream matches, if you're following along with any of those and you want to know the updates, we'll have them. As soon as they're done, we'll make sure that you guys know who came out on top, so you can be keeping track of where your favorite teams are when it comes to those types of things. That will also potentially inform what's going to happen with those rankings and what some of our teams have to do moving forward in the next weeks of the challenge season, especially if they want to make it through to finals. I think the only other thing that we have to be waiting on now before we get into this match will be those picks and bans, see if that kind of changes anything about what we might feel for these players or these teams and how they could potentially perform. I just want to know where or what insider info Bobby has on how Truly is going to be getting themselves into Brazil. This is exciting.
I don't have any. Oh, well, I do have like a tiny bit of information, but
you can save it if you want to save it.
Oh no, I'm not allowed to say.
Yeah, see, that's he's a vault. He's a steel trap, which also means we might never find out.
We will.
We might never find out.
Next week, he'll tell us by like tomorrow. Tomorrow night, we'll have him. He'll give us some info, and then we'll leak it on Twitter. We'll get all the.
No, because we can't be the unreliable ones, Brody.
Yeah, we can.
You're saying I'm unreliable?
No. He's saying you're a steel trap. You have the information. You will leak it.
Okay.
But then he's saying if you're going to tell him, he's going to snitch. We can't do that. Okay, let's talk about the picks and bans.
Alrighty. Picks and bans. What do we got here? I think it's worth saying Truly didn't even pay anything different. Last week they played the exact same map set twice. They played it versus Goofy Goobers and then LG, and that was Takeoff, Slums, and Raid. So we do get Slums for a search and destroy for map number 5. I think that does actually bode pretty well for Truly, and of course the Raid for the map number 3. So pretty good picks for them. As for the other side, it's hard to take too much away from Sane from last week's results, if only because they played rejects, right? It's just like, fundamentally they were fine, but they played rejects. So this is a whole different kettle of fish for them. Hopefully they have a better go of things here on this map pool.
Yeah, looking at the arsenal, I think that definitely favors this Truly roster. Very, very strong ARs right there. We saw what an important role that plays, especially for that map. And one thing we also talked about for that Sane roster was having some difficulties in rotation. And if your rotations are not in point in Arsenal, you are going to get completely torn to pieces. So they've definitely got to make improvements there. We'll see if they can do that up against this Truly roster. But once again, very, very talented, and it does seem like they're putting in the work.
All right, well, I think it's about ready for this match to start. So I'm going to send you guys quickly on over to the other side of the studio so we can get into it and kick off week number 2.
Alrighty, mate. Well, we're back to you guys watching us move over towards this side of the stage. So hi, guys. How you doing? And ready to get into the second set of matches here with North America, Bobby. Really excited for this one, to be honest, mate.
Yeah, I'm very excited to have some ammo boxes to assist us up here. I don't know where the Nerf guns went, but hopefully we can...
They took those away for a reason, let's be honest, mate.
Yeah.
And it's not us.
My snipes are too accurate. What can I say?
There are 3 people in the studio. And only one of them was dangerous with a Nerf gun. It wasn't us. Regardless, yeah, really excited to get into this one. Again, look, I'll say this much, mate. I think that Sane do have a chance here, right? Look, I went out of week 1. I was just like, I'm going to be a more positive person, you know, kumbaya and all that going into week number 2. So here's what I'm going to say. Sane, you've got a chance. You've just got to start pretty strong in this series. You've got to come out swinging versus Truly to have a real shot here. I think they can honestly do it.
I think that they have some talent. I think that Sane absolutely have some talent. I think they can make it close.
Yep.
I think there are absolutely some maps that they can make it close on and potentially take a map. I think taking the series might be a little bit of a stretch. But ultimately, I think that they are going to see improvement one way or another over what we saw out of them last week. And hopefully that starts for map number 1. So we see the DRHs coming out across the board. And it is going to be Truly on strong side to get things started right here. Looking to make their entry on into the hard point is right now Sane pushing in from the backside. Utility heads out.
That's an interesting conversation point, isn't it? You always talk about kind of strong side starts to hard point and, you know, how relevant they actually are for a lot of the teams here in the competition who maybe don't find themselves in a position to actually take advantage of them. Hopefully these teams are teams of that caliber to do exactly that. Truly, though, starting strong here in this hard point. They're getting the better of Sane to kick things off. However, Sane have fought back, immediately found their way right back through. And this is a very mixy hard point, I think, on the whole here, Bobby. I don't think we're expecting too much in terms of dominant control one way or another.
No, but Sane are doing a solid job of keeping things contested. Rima 4 kills off the start. If the rest of the squad can get going, might have an opportunity, but obviously main priority is locking down that top side control. Rima not going to be able to win the gunfight right there, and Tapion left to just kind of try to hold these angles, see if he can find a pick to prevent any exit out of this Truly squad, but Hax gets perfect timing on 2 right there, does finally get traded out. Tapion on rotation once again, but they need to get that top side locked down.
Yeah, for sure. This is a big rotation coming out from Sane. They're already 30 points down. I kind of eaten my own words there, mate, haven't I? In regards to saying that the team hasn't got a lot of P1 time. Truly have done exactly that, and already now on the rotation towards New, starting things strong as Yawn picks up the double. Keep an eye on play number 2 as well. But Noodle coming on the flank here has influenced those spawns enough that Haxus will spawn through. Double Hunter killer drone kills starting to come through now for Truly as well. The pressure is now starting to be on. Players now starting to mount the offense around the backline here and trapping Don and Tapion inside the hill. Both of those players going to succumb to the pressure that Truly were applying. Truly now have broken through with 30 seconds left on the hill.
Space racking the J358. He's got a 6 spree to his name right now, trying to continue to build those streaks. Yawn's going to be able to find a cutoff kill right there. Slides the corner, can't find an angle, but audio cue and Space will finish it off with the Pred missile in hand. Obviously, eyes on rotation right here, and you love to see the well-timed push over toward P3. Looks like Sane have sent all but 1 player right there, Rima, there to play distraction, and they're just going to go ahead, send it all the way anyway. Unfortunately, he's going to be spawning all the way across the map, so it's going to be a 4-man hold right here. We'll see what Jinkatsu can do on the inside. He does get taken down, but it's after he finds a single kill, so that is an opportunity for Sane to continue to try to close this gap.
Yeah, this is actually a big push around the backline here for Truly. If Sane get broken here quickly, this is going to spell disaster for them here in this hard point. This is not what you want to see, and immediately here you see Saken and Wet Noodle combine for 3. Truly do exactly what they wanted to. Attempt now for Sane to break right on back. Has to be done by Rima on the flank. Has to find at least 1 kill here as some of these specialists now starting to come out to play. Surely some value to be found. Saken going to bring out the War Machine for a couple of kills. The Sparrow from Wet Noodle also looking pretty good. And I talked about Rima with that potential flank. Well, keyword potential there, as it doesn't really come to pass for anything all that important.
Yeah, streaks continuing to be built left and right. Not sure if Wet Noodle is codeine or lethal. Maybe that's something that production could check on for us, because that would definitely help to illuminate what's happening right here. But regardless, he's going to earn himself an EMP. That's awfully early in the game to be doing that. Once again, not a great sign for Sane, but Jinkatsu on rotation right there is going to be able to close down the backside. And the rotations have been really, really clean for this Sane squad. It's just been a question of how long can they hold the line, and now Truly lining up to try to force through that mid window. Space going to be able to find 1. Not going to get traded there either. Rima with an opportunity, but can't make anything out of it. Right now, they've got to get these spawns pushed out a little bit. Yawn's going to be able to find 1 to open things up.
Yeah, Sane have got to start holding some of these rotations, and now you've got Yawn really starting to heat up here. The Annihilator, one of the more deadly operators we have here in Call of Duty Mobile, will only find 1 kill, so big stop being pulled off here, but Space decides it's also time to invest the claw, so a lot of investment coming out here for Truly. They know how important this hill is to putting a stop to any potential comeback from Sane, and already starting kills starting to be mounted up here by the likes of Yawn and Wet Noodle 37, as Truly managed to break on through for a crucial back 15 seconds. But that was a pretty good hill on the whole for Sane. They managed to garner about 30 to 40 seconds off the hard point, and I think crucially, they walked away with the rotation towards Nex as well. So Sane still not in that terrible position, but they need to be very careful before they find themselves out of depth in this game.
It's honestly impressive that Sane have been able to keep it as close as they have, given the scoreboard being what it is. Don sitting on 1 kill, and we're on our way over to P5. Have got to pick things up. Yawn's going to find 2 on rotation right there. Operators pop. Don finds 1 with the equalizer, but you've got to get more value. Fortunately, teammates are there and able to reinforce the hill. Rima not quite close enough to actually be getting hardpoint time right here, but he's going to sit back, wait for the push on through, and Sane keep things locked down. So the fundamentals super solid. It looks like right now very, very largely just a straight-up gun skill difference.
Yeah, every single time the Sane get the early rotation, which again, the fundamentals is great, gets broken pretty much straight away from Truly. At the very least, though, they do have those back spawns, so we'll continue to spawn up and hit this hill every single life. But they do got to be careful that they don't actually end up gifting streaks away to Truly, because it is very easy to L-trigger or whatever the equivalent is in Call of Duty Mobile, just down that lane, keep an eye on the players coming off the spawn to get some free streaks. Already 1 in the back pocket of Yawn. That's going to be Hunter Killer Train that might be useful later on down the line. For the moment, though, as we hit the second set of rotations here, Bobby, Truly a 90-point advantage over Sane. It's not insurmountable, but it does feel like Sane need to kind of kick themselves into the next gear.
Yeah, they've definitely got to pick things up just in regards to the gunfights if they want to have a chance right here. Once again, the rotations have looked good. They're able to find some damage through that window opening right there. Not going to be able to take down Rima, so they're able to hop in and they get some more hardpoint time. Definitely not completely out of reach yet, but they need a couple of solid holds. And those holds have not been very reliable for them so far today. Space is going to wrap the corner, find 1. I think he made it 2 right there before getting traded out. And right now, it's Truly back in the hard point.
Yeah, you cannot give this time away as well. You start to get to the point here late in the hard points where it's like 20 seconds is gold dust. You need to actually go and grab it if you can. Sane, no twist though, but to focus on the rotation. That's not going to work out because Yawn and Space are already over there. And you need to get rid of them pretty quickly. Yawn is doing a lot of damage at the moment. The Hunter Killer Drone surely going to just fly out here to deal with any players that might have spawned up around the back line. Hax is going to find 1. Rima, the last man standing for this rotation. The Hunter Killer Drone might go ahead and deal with him, and it's just going to fly by. But here comes Sane. Now on the offense, this needs to be a big break from them.
And they've got that topside positioning. The question is, can they get anybody on the hard point? Yawn, Hax, locking things down for right now. And even with all those players in the high ground, haven't been able to make anything out of it. 1 kill before being taken down by the Hunter Killer. And finally, Jinkatsu finds his way on right here, able to shut down Yawn. Once again, the trades are there for Truly. Don's got to make quick work of this. Not going to be able to find the kill, but Rima does. They keep things contested and haven't had to worry too much, but just so much pressure for them to avoid any more points going on over to Truly. You can see Wet Noodle still locking things down on the top side right here. Finds 1 more, and it will be the hard point cleared out as they look to pick up the scraps right here. Obviously, eyes on rotation as once again Tapion's making the first move.
Yep. Should influence the spawns already here for Sane to have the first touch over by New. They do have somebody to contest with. That Space. Not the player you want to go up against, and he's already predicted perfectly where Tapion's going to be coming from. Now repositioning in towards the vents as well. That's not something I necessarily think that Bright will predict or will Don in the middle of the map. Don certainly didn't see Space coming. Big kills being made here for the rotation as Truly just 17 seconds away from victory. The spawn's not in their favor. Rima has to pull off a miracle and he cannot turn water into wine. Truly just 15 seconds away from victory, Bowie.
Hax, equalizer's gonna come out right there. That secures the spawns for them and all but secures the map. Couple more operators right here for Sane as they look to do a little bit of damage and see if they can prolong the inevitable. But it will be the 100-point club, no less. 250 to 95 right there. As it's a solid performance out of Sane. I feel like we saw some improvements, but just not quite enough to go up against that top 4, at least for map number 1.
Yeah, I think we kind of talked about it, and we can kind of say it in a nutshell here. Fundamentally, it was fine for Sane. They didn't do anything wrong. They were rotating when they were required to. They were hitting the hard point relatively well. They just got outgunned every single time. And I think you know something's going to go awry as soon as you hit that P3 rotation. You know, you're already, what, 20, 30 points down in the game, and you lose it within the first 10 to 15 seconds. That's when you know something is going to go wrong with this matchup, and I think that really was just kind of par for the course throughout the entirety. Every single rotation, if Sane gave it a look, they would lose it within the first 20 seconds or so. This was probably the only hard point, I think, where I could say Sane had a convincing look, and that was really it. Beyond that, truly just dominated them the entire game. And you pointed out, I think, around here as well, doesn't probably help that statistically you've got players that are just not really in the game.
Yep. Don, very, very slow start. Did pick things up a little bit toward the end. And once again, I think there are strategic improvements that we can see out of the Sane squad as well. I think they had that good rotation toward P3, but didn't put enough emphasis on locking down the backside spawns, and that opened things wide up for Truly to break them as quickly as they possibly could. As you look at the stat line, nothing too surprising right there. Pretty much everybody, actually make it everybody double positive for that Truly squad, and Forsaken on nearly a 3 KD. That's exactly how you'd like to start the day, especially as you're looking to build some momentum for the rest of the season.
Yeah, just not surprising, is it, to see Truly come out here and perform like this. That said, I talked about it before we got into the match. If Sane want a chance, and that's not to say they still don't have one, they do, they wanted to come out firing on all cylinders. That didn't happen in map number 1. And I think now as you get into the search and destroy, you need to start seeing some kind of fundamental changes here in the way that you are approaching this one. You're going on a slums S&D. Oh, no, sorry, that's map number 5. I'm not too sure what map number 2 is. My memory is absolutely terrible. But regardless of what the search and destroy map is, I think you kind of need to try and gauge the aggression that you're going to see here from Truly if you're Sane, and just try and match it, I think, right out the gate. You know, just try and find a way to counter what they're putting on the table before they get started, because once they get the momentum, it's going to be hard to stop.
Yeah, and I think that's a big thing for a lot of these newer teams, is not allowing the opposition to dictate the pace of the game, play the search and destroy the way that you want to play it, and feel comfortable doing so. Obviously, you want to throw different looks. You don't want to be predictable, but at the end of the day, you're going to have the most success whenever you're taking the map into your control, and especially doing that on the offensive side. So we'll see what they can do. Search and destroy for the underdog, typically the mode that's going to give you the best chance. So I do hope that we see a good matchup here.
Yeah, and Truly, I will say, do look good at search and destroy. They won 7-2 versus the Goofy Goobers, and they forced Luminosity to overtime, although that's not a rarity, it would seem, because Luminosity were in overtime for both of their search and destroys. So we'll see whether there's anything to actually make out of that as we see more Luminosity this season. But for the moment, it seems, at least in first impression, Truly are a pretty darn good search and destroy squad. And that's not easy, considering you've recently made a change. It's very hard to adapt when you bring a new player into the roster to make sure your search and destroy strats are sound. So to see Truly, I think, have a really good start in search and destroy is very promising again, especially as we start to talk about what Truly look like versus some of the best teams in the game. And there's the answer to my question, Bobby. It's Tunisia. I knew this. I knew that before we even got into it.
All right. Well, it looks like it is going to be a little slight split push right here for Sane off the start of this one. Aggressive toward the mid-map. Bomb trying to decide what route they want to go. And hopping right on down. Bright's going to be able to tuck into this corner. It has an angle, but Yon guns him anyway. Don and Rima are able to find a couple, though, right there. And Sane are able to find a man advantage off the start.
3 versus 3. Things will calm down here for the moment. As Sane look for an entry into the site. It's going to be a long one. Get your feet up, folks, because Don is going for the longest flank known to man. Jinkatsu going for a little bit of a chow to try and make a distraction play. Hey, guys, look over here. No actions going around on the flank. Forsaken, though, his spidey senses are tingling. That is absolutely the right call to make there as Don goes down. Now the chow coming through. No other choice from Rima, who does actually pick up a kill here. And that's the site control for Sane.
Jinkatsu. Seems like he might have a read. Forsaken's actually going to wrap back to the backside right here. 1v2 opportunity for him. Will Yon overextend? They know the bomb has dropped, and Forsaken may have gotten that information, but Jinkatsu gets the better of him. Tries for the 1v2, but Yon, shots are clean right there, and he cleans things up for Truly. they take round number 1. But you love to see Sane keeping things so close, and a strong push over toward A, especially when your snipers can open things up, could pose an opportunity for them to find some early rounds here.
Yeah, and the right idea was there as well from Sane, so it's what we've been saying kind of all week, series, tournament long, that Sane had the right ideas. It's just all about the execution. Is the execution good here on this initial push over towards A? Trades to kick things off. Bomb hasn't fully committed over towards the A site just yet. Maybe the smoke and mirrors will actually create a path over towards B, and that seems like it's been the case as Bright does take down Yawn and Space finds one over by A. Sane might want to rethink when they're taking this bomb, especially to go right at 4 seconds, but they win that 1 versus 1, and now truly in a 2 versus 3.
Well, buddy system right there. Bright finds another, now all down to Space. 1v3 right here is a bit of a slow start for Truly, could provide an opportunity for Sane to find their first round. Space, beautiful angle right there. Tries to make it 2, but the hit marker cleans it up anyway. Can he make it 3? No, he cannot. Bright there to avoid disaster. That one was a little bit closer than you would like to see, but Sane tie things up right here, and Truly have not really had much of an answer over here on the A site.
Yeah, that would have been a stunning 1 versus 3 from Space. Straight on the top 5 players of the week. Do we have one of those? I don't know. If we don't, we should probably make it just...
I'll make one.
Yeah, we'll make one for sure. Space almost made it on the highlight reel. Not to be, though, as Sane do win out the round that they definitely should have won. And in towards this one, Typhon already started the round. Pretty slowly. Bright going to get taken down as well, and Sane immediately do not have the numbers here, so kind of forced into a bit of an unorthodox spot. What do? Don tries to over-aggress through the A site and get shut down. And now for Sane, at least you've got the bomb, but you are in a 2v5.
Love the adjustments out of Truly. Beautiful read to counter toward mid. And Sane were absolutely not prepared as they get 5-0 there in that round. So now the question, whether or not they can make the adjustments, just like we've seen out of this Truly squad. Very heavy focus toward the A side, a lot of mid pressure, and this time it's just going to be a full send toward A, maybe 1 player toward mid, and they're all going to stack up right here, but no smokes, and you're going to challenge a sniper angle, not something I would recommend. They get picked to pieces, but trades back. And that makes it a 3v3, and it looks like they've, for the most part, cleared out that A site. Hex is going to make his way up right here. And maybe an opportunity for them to catch Truly off guard as they look to wrap back toward B.
Yeah, this is the thing. This is exactly what I was going to say, right, mate? I mean, look, this wrap from Sane, if they can hurry this up, if they can get the pace up here, they should be okay. But they are doing this very, very slowly. They might actually end up giving an opportunity away to Hax to get around the back and catch 1 or 2 of these players off guard. Oh, Call of Duty timing looks away at the wrong time. Still, though, now back towards the middle here. How many of these players he's going to spot? And does he have the trigger discipline to not immediately take the shot? Well, there you go. Decides now is the time to strike, and strike he does. Rima down for the count. Now these last 2 players, Windy.
Ooh, Bright. Shots on point right there. Bomb does drop, but it's retrieved by Tapion. And now with 50 seconds remaining, they could very well make this wrap back to A, and that's exactly what they're going to do. Truly are content to wait over on the B site. This should afford them a free plant as they actually capitalize on what looked to initially be a disadvantage. And I love this play out of them, just constant adjustments through the round. But you got to make quick work of it because Truly are starting to get a feeling of what's happening right here. That's going to be Yawn with the opening shots, but Bright there to shut him down.
Nice. Now Forsaken, 1v2. Sniper rifle. Space couldn't produce the 1v3 in the last round. Maybe Forsaken can here. The first shot is good. Now, the 1v1. Tapion. Where does he go? Through the top barrels is probably the most common spot, but will Forsaken predict it if that's the play? There's a lot of different spots on this site for Forsaken to check. And he has to check every single one. That gives Tapion the advantage. Tapion just peeks out, takes him down, and yeah, Forsaken no choice but to play that one passively to try and check every single corner. Tapion takes advantage.
That's the thing about that A site. There's so many different corners that you can tuck into. I love the play out of Tapion to get the bomb down, and as soon as he knew he was out of sight, could feel very comfortable making that wrap toward top winery. Played it beautifully. Picks up another round for Sane is once again showing that, at least in the search and destroy, there's not too big of a gap between these squads. Bright unfortunately going to get hit with a flash right there. Forsaken drops 1, does get traded out. Risky plays on the top side. He's going to opt to disengage. But Sane keeping things even. They do find themselves down a couple players and very, very split. Jinkatsu gets spotted right there. Hex should be relaying that information.
Yeah, Hexus just doesn't want to chow unless he knows he's going to get the gunfight, and has the confidence to finally take it on. Now, we've almost seen a 1v2. We've almost seen a 1v3. Granted, those from the other sides with sniper rifles. Maybe Rima could pull off a 1v4. Spectacular play on the cards. He's already got bombs, so that's something in their favor at least. They're just going to get taken out from the side, surely. Axis, did you see him? Nope. The coverage of the truck will help. No, he whiffs. Oh, if you're going to pull off a 1v4, you've got to start with the first kill. Come on, Rima, give us the kill. Oh, not going to get it. Truly find the round. It was unlikely to win the 1v4 anyway, but it would have been nice to win your 1v1.
Yeah, typically, even if it's just a confidence builder right there, like that doesn't make you feel great. Heading into round number 6 right here, looks like they're sticking with what's worked for them so far, even if not always in the most orthodox of manners. Looks like they're going to send it on over toward A, see what they can find. That Holger hopped up to the top side. Wet Noodle drops Bright off the start, and he's going to be content to sit up there, spray, and check for info. That's going to force all the players for Sane way, way back. And with 2 players already down, kind of left questioning what their next move should be.
Oh, nice chow coming out from Wet Noodle as well. Surely not enough. One Wet Noodle, the confidence is flowing, truly overwhelmed Sane. Little fight coming in as well. I don't know who that player was, but regardless, applied enough pressure to send the last couple of players in towards barrels and give Truly the final round there as we switch sides here. Truly go 4-0 up. Or 4-2 up, excuse me. And now on the offense they go. Technically the harder side. We haven't seen a single B hit yet from either of these 2 teams, and that doesn't look to change here into round number 7.
Yep, straight up mid goes Truly, and there it is, the hit over toward B. 2 players here to defend, but I'm not sure if they're going to be checking the right spots as Rima's wrapped all the way back. Tapion eyes toward mid-map right here, but not going to have an angle for a gunfight. But there it is. No trigger discipline right there. That gives away his information. Players on the low ground are going to be able to push up. He gets shut down, and this is a round that could have gone very, very differently had he taken a slightly different approach. Well, they've still got the numbers here saying for the retake, but they have to make sure, again, trigger discipline is there, and the timing for them to attack at the same time is there as well. And it's not. Jinkatsu and Dongo down. Rima down for the count as well. And Bright. I mean, that's just so unfortunate. They just go 3v4 to 3v0. That's
it's tough. Look, I'll say this much. Truly did a really good job there of kind of just throwing them for a loop right at the start of the round. It's the first B hit we see, and it's an unconventional route that you see them taking as well.
Yep, and once again, applying that pressure toward mid-map. Forsaken's going to be able to open things up onto Rima. Jinkatsu working with slivers right there, but he's going to be able to take down Forsaken. Trades left and right as space does drop. Following the frag right there, and once again into a bit of a stalemate. Unfortunately, timing does not go the way of Tapion. Hack's going to be able to find Jinkatsu. And now looking for the wrap back toward that B side once again. Tapion gives away even more information. Opportunity to take down Yawn, but can't hit the shots. And once again, all down to a 1v3 is Don. Looks to make something out of nothing. Bomb goes down here on B.
Yeah, B is harder to take control of, but once you've got it, it's also harder to retake, and Truly know that. Pays off. Masterful gambit from them as Sane now find themselves backs well and truly up against the wall. Truly have proved themselves to be a great search and destroy team across the first couple of matches, and now they look to book a third search and destroy victory. Or a third search and destroy great performance here against Sane. Can they get it done this time around? Straight towards A they go. Smoke's providing the coverage they need to get full control over the A site, and that first blood, well, that kind of helps as well.
Yep, it's completely locked down right now. Nothing to work with for this Sane squad. One player looks to wrap. That's going to be Don. But if he tries to make the move, Wet Noodle is there on the read. They have got every single possible angle locked down. Don gets spotted out right there. Shots will connect. With only 3 players remaining for Sane, they've got to move quickly. Tapion's going to be able to find one, but once again, the shots are too clean for this Truly squad. Now 1v3 for Bright. Nothing for him to find right there. Truly clean up nicely on the back end of that one. 5 straight rounds to close things out.
Yeah, really well played, I think, as we switch sides as well, with Truly making the right decisions to say, hey, look, nobody's gone B just yet. We'll do it twice in a row, and we'll do it pretty successfully as well. And I think they proved exactly why B Is there better point to take in those situations? Because it was just very difficult to retake if you're Sane. And of course, we went down to that final round as well, as you say, and it was just super aggressive from Truly. They were feeling themselves, and this is what I've been saying for a long time. When you see these top teams, can we call Truly one of the top teams at this point?
Absolutely.
When you see these top teams, when they start feeling themselves and they get aggressive, they are really difficult to deal with, and you just saw that in that final round. That said, there were moments of positiveness coming out of Sane in the first few rounds. They were looking pretty good to try and hold themselves close versus Truly. I think it just kind of let it slip away from them towards the end.
Yeah, and I think toward the beginning, there were a couple rounds that Truly just didn't know how to make the adjustments to what Sane were doing, but once they made the reads and countered toward mid-map, you take away any advantage that Sane has right there, and it definitely snowballed out of control after that. Obviously, Truly, once they get to the offensive side, they pretty much did whatever they wanted to. They ran the map, and they closed things out pretty quickly right there. So now we get ready to head into the control. This is the mode that I would say, if there was one that Truly looked shaky on last week, I believe against Goofy Goobers, it was definitely the control. Surprised to see them give a round away. So potentially an opportunity for Sane to do something right here. That being said, it is going to be on Raid, which is where they gave a round away, but I believe where they also took LG down to 3-2.
Yes, yeah, took them around number 5 in that one. And it is worth saying as well, this was a map that Sane played versus Rejects, and unsurprisingly, Reject 3-0'd them. So, a lot of history for both of these two teams when it comes down to Raid Control. It's the offensively sided control map here in this game. It's pretty fun to see. And I'm always intrigued to see kind of what the, I want to say, post-like capture setup looks like for a team on offense, right? Because I think we've seen teams in the past, kind of the best teams, really start to look ahead of what they do once they get that capture on B, for example. So we'll see whether or not that's going to be the case from Truly right off the start. But Truly here on the defense, looking pretty good. Immediate pre-fire down Zig, and a couple of players already falling foul to them. Sane, not a good start from there, and they're giving a lot of control away to Truly.
Wet Noodle is definitely not playing for accuracy right now. He is playing for kills, and he's going to be able to find one to get things started. Yawn's going to have a nice flank play right there, but no trigger discipline. Going to be able to hop the objective anyway and start wiping off that progress. Wet Noodle content to sit mid-map. Play for that information. Yawn clears through to top red right here. And Wet Noodle continues to just absolutely beam everybody in sight. It's now a wrap over toward the A side, and they're going to be able to stack things right here. So an opportunity for Sane to get some points, but right now you got to keep an eye on the lives as well. Now down 8 already. Space is going to be able to clear things there. Jinkatsu drops Don, able to find one, but he is solo on that A site for right now.
I like the adaptations coming out from Sane. They recognize that they have not really any shot, to be honest, of getting B, so they transfer their progression over towards A. However, Truly have got themselves the power positions that we always want to talk about. They've got a player top bedroom in the form of Yawn. They've got players watching Zig. One of them will go down, so Space now has a lot to do in the middle of the map. And, well, make no mistake, Space will find at least one frag around there. The problem for Sane here, they constantly have to deal with players like Yawn making these flanks happen. They have to predict it. They have to know that someone is making this flank happen, because if not, it will be disastrous for them. Yawn doesn't even get involved, by the way, because by the time he gets there, his teammates have already dealt with the pressure.
Yeah, only 13 seconds for Sane to make a move, and down 12 lives. There's no easy route. They're able to hop onto A right here. Tapion's going to be able to find one, but Yawn has earned himself a Pred missile. I don't anticipate we'll see that come out this round. Not really any need to, given what the round's looking like with no respawns remaining for Sane. They continue to drop. Jinkatsu all alone inside Cabana. Yawn's going to push right there. He finds the frag, and all down to Tapion with 1 second left. It's not really going to matter a whole lot as Truly take round 1.
Would have been a stunner 1 versus 18, but not today. Tapion has Truly dominate round number 1. It was just insane, honestly, mate. Like, Truly just came out right from the gate swinging. They already put players on the flank just like, what, within the first 10 to 15 seconds off the back of clearing out Zig. So Truly have looked pretty good in that first round. Sane, got to have a good response here on the defense. They're sending 4 players towards kitchen side. And once again, the double up, the team shots looking good to take mid-map control. Sane now back towards the respawn point they go. They have to find a way to try and take these players out of mid-map.
And it's a very interesting weapon setup for this Truly squad right now. They're running 3 ARs and 2 LMGs, so completely just trying to control the map through those lanes, not even bothering with those close range engagements if they don't have to. Obviously, in a pinch, the DRH can work right there as well. Hax is going to push it looked like toward their spawn, but he's actually going to wrap back and look to play his life right here as he's going to constantly keep them guessing over toward A. 2 ticks of progress already through on B. As Wet Noodle makes his way back on over. No angle on the Bright right there. Life advantage remains in play for Truly.
And Truly, they haven't quite got control of either of these 2 points yet. Just 2 ticks of progression over by B. Now starting to work the piece of art over by A as well. Shots now out towards Jinkatsu, who was the lone defender of the point. Players, though, spawning up towards that basketball side. Forsaken's going to deal with one of them. That is a very close basketball spawn coming through from Jinkatsu and Tapion. That will ensure that A will not fall by the wayside. And I wonder, with 50 seconds left, how long it will be before Truly decides to just change tact here and go straight towards B. Feels like that might well just be the case right now as trades go back in their favor. It'll enable Haxus to get on the point, but it's actually a bit of a split effort coming out here from Truly. They've got 1 player on B, 1 player on A. Both of these points now starting to progress.
Would have been nice for Yon to stay alive right there, but 3 straight Truly players drop. Unfortunately for Sane, even though they've been able to play this well and keep them off the objective, no respawns remain right here. They've got some operators to work with if they want to, but okay, I didn't think they were going to invest down 14-3, but there we go. Bright pops the Annihilator. He's going to be able to find one. You've really got to go 6 for 6 on this one. Space with a little hop-up spot right there, trying to hit the J358 shots, and that's just disrespectful. Don, please do not use the operator. At least give your team a chance. It looks like he's going to hold on to that equalizer. Is able to find a kill right there. They're looking for the boxing gloves, and Forsaken spoils the fun.
I thought we were about to get our first execution of the second week there. Not to be, though. Truly, 2-0 up. They're looking so dominant at the moment, mate. If not doing it on the defense in round number 1, the offense there just getting hyper-aggressive. The way that they're playing, just constantly teaming up together, looking for 2v1 gunfights, and they are finding them. Sane need to start playing as a team. This is a good look from the beginning of this round with all 4, make it 5 players actually from Sane making their way towards B. But look at this look from Truly on the defense. 4 players through the middle of the map here. They're already attempting those flanks.
1 player looking to watch flank right here. I believe that's going to be Tapion. Don't know if he was able to find it though. Eyes toward top red right here. Yawn, Annihilator in hand. Not going to find a whole lot of value. Wet Noodle able to take down Jinkatsu with the Sparrow, and it looks like they find that pressure over toward B. So they get things cleared right there, and they're able to wipe off progress from that tick. But lives, pretty even off the start of this one. It's not required a whole lot of investment out of this Sane squad. If Hex can get cleared out from Zig right there, an opportunity for them to keep things even, but just like that, Truly 5-6 kills in a row, and looks like the equalizer gonna come out, but Hags turned on by Don right there.
Yeah, if I'm Sane in this position, this is where I start to use at least one of these operators to get out of this spawn trap, right? Do something, get some map control. You only need 1 more tick on B to get an extra 60 seconds on the board, and you're only 5 lives down in this control. But that's going to get worse the more that you do not use these operators. You've got a lot on side. The mid-map control continually in favor of Truly, as is bedroom control for Yawn. Everything looking up if you're a Truly fan here, but Tapion does come through for 1. Slides on towards B. The trade looking pretty good from Wet Noodle. Is anybody else there from Sane to perhaps do something? Well, not when Space is keeping them at bay through Zig. This is a great utilization of the claw. Is going to be shut down, but time not on Sane's side here. As I say that though, Rima allowed to capture B here. So extra 60 seconds on the board, but that life disadvantage is daunting.
They've just put themselves in such a difficult position because now you're forced to call all those operators at the same time. Rima gets taken off the Purifier, and Jinkatsu's not going to be able to respawn either. So now it's all down to Dawn. Equalizer's really good, but I don't think it's 1v14 good. He's going to get taken down right there and Truly take the 3-0 on the map and on the series. As expected, those boys came to play.
Yep, and it's exactly what we've been seeing time and time again here in the North American region. When a team starts to play really well at the start of a series, over the course of the series, they'll get more and more aggressive. And if you don't shut it down, that is what happens. They look so good there in the control, mate. Just absolutely solid with the way that they played that one.
Yeah, and once again, one thing I would love to see more out of these newer teams is more calculated operator usage. They were sitting on 3-4 operators for the entire round. And by the time they started calling them in, there's no respawns. There's no opportunity for you to stretch them across the round, to use them tactically. You've got to use every possible advantage that you can if you're going to have a chance at taking down one of these top dogs like Truly. Not going to be able to do it right here. Love the fight that we saw out of them in the control, though.
Yeah, for sure. Just that control was not good for Sane. I think as soon as they started losing control in round number 1, you kind of have a gauge for what's going to happen. Truly, though, I will say this, positives for them, that was a great control. The way that they played that, just, you know, the fundamentals, if you're looking to play well against the top teams in the North American region, they are showing a lot of promise at the moment for being kind of top control teams, perhaps.
Yeah, Truly starting off the day with a really, really solid performance. 3-0, and that's something that they were looking for, kind of wanting to prove just where they can potentially fall when it comes to those top spots as we take a look at some of the numbers here. I mean, some really nice KDs out of Truly.
Yeah, that was to be expected. I think Forsaken was at a 3+ KD for just about every map that we saw at him today. If anybody watched Tribe during the challenge season last season, that's not too terribly surprising because those are very similar numbers to what we saw him putting up there. And fully anticipate that that will continue to be the case, at least until we start to get up against our Mayhems, our LGs, our rejects. But as expected, Truly came to play. I am curious who Wet Noodle is once again, but I'm sure we'll find that out later in broadcast.
The legend of Wet Noodle. So I just want to know, it's like a secret superhero identity or something.
What if we just like never tell you though?
Could be anybody.
The name Wet Noodle, I was laughing the whole time listening to you guys try to say it seriously. Because is there a world where that can be done seriously? I don't really know. But regardless, match number 1 is now done. It is Truly who comes out swinging with a 3-0 to kick off week number 2. Now we've got match number 2 right around the corner. It's going to be LG versus Disciples.
Positive?
Tell me about it, Brody.
Look, as I said, it's positive week for me, right? I'm going to be really positive here. There is a chance for Disciples, right? You know, Disciples look pretty good in week number 1. Look, I'm trying to be positive here, okay, Bobby? Disciples look pretty good in week number 1. Granted, it was against a very different team, so maybe if their fundamentals are all good, they will have a shot versus LG. But I'll say exactly what I said for Sane here versus Truly, which I know did not come to pass. Come out swinging. You have to come out swinging in map number 1, because if you fall flat right out the gates, you're done.
I agree.
You don't think LG and Team NBA are on the same level?
No. Not quite. There's just like a slight difference. Like,
Slight?
Yeah, just
Okay.
like a Team NBA, LG, just ever so slightly.
It's maybe a couple weeks.
And then
practice.
Bobby's Buckets, whatever.
Bobby Buckets.
Oh, Bobby Buckets Dino Nuggets. Don't disrespect him without knowing the full name.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry,
Okay.
guys.
All right. I'm gonna let these two continue their bickering over here on the sofa. While they do that, we're gonna send it to a short break so we can get ready for match number 2 coming up right around the corner. So don't go anywhere. You're watching the Snapdragon Pro Series.
The Snapdragon Pro Series powered by Samsung Galaxy is brought to you by Snapdragon Elite Gaming, Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra, Monster Energy, DHL, and the U.S. Air Force.
Welcome to the place where dreams come true. Where everything you want can be yours. If and only if you're willing to work for them. You're willing to hurt for them. But most of all,
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Snapdragon Pro Series, where we are preparing to get into our second match of the day. And as you can see behind me on our lovely, beautiful screen, it will be Luminosity versus Disciples. We had Brody give us a little bit of like a preview, overview of what this match could entail. Before we dive into it, though, I also do have a little bit of an off-stream update. LG played off-stream as well while we were doing our first match. They went up against Goofy Goobers, and they did come out on top 3-0. So LG starting off with a win to kick it off, and now they're going into their next match up against Disciples. They could potentially have a 2-0 week here, Bobby, and that would make them comfy at the top of the leaderboard.
Yeah, I hope they can make it happen. I know I know we'd all love to see LG at the top of the leaderboard. They're going up against the Disciple squad that is currently undefeated, correct?
Yes, they're both 2-0, right?
Oh, actually, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, why are we sad about this?
Slightly different levels of competition. We do have LG taking down Truly and Mayhem, which are, you know, you could make an argument that those are slightly more skilled teams than who Disciples have had to go through. But at the end of the day, they're undefeated and could very well have a chance at maintaining that here up against Luminosity.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll talk about LG's roster for a second here, but it is important to note that even if everyone's going up against the juggernauts that are LG and say that is the expected loss for your 4 weeks here because of who you're going up against, starting off with the padding that Disciples has, this almost is okay because there's other teams that are in a way worse position than Disciples are.
Yeah. It's difficult, right? I just think you do go into this matchup versus LG, and no one expects to lose, right? If you expect to lose, I don't think that's the right mindset
Sure,
to
of
have
course.
at all, ever. You expect to try as hard as you can. You expect to have, I hope, as Bobby said earlier, have done the VOD, have learned where LG's kind of weaknesses, if there are any, are. It's very difficult to, I think, be positive, though, even in those circumstances of, like, you know LG are the top dogs. You know how difficult it is to kind of beat these guys in any circumstances. So you've just got to kind of take your positives where you can, I think.
Well, I think it also, a lot of mental comes into it as we talk about Disciples here a little bit and who they have on their roster. There's always going to be a top dog, Bobby. There's always going to be somebody better than you that you have to go up against, and that being able to kind of control your mental from that aspect is part of being a competitor.
Yeah, and part of this, it's almost a litmus test for Disciples to see if they can have a chance at taking down Truly, because ultimately it looks like Truly are probably going to be the team to beat for them if they want to have a shot at making it into playoffs. So not even necessarily can you beat Luminosity, but can you at least make it close? Can you show you've got what it takes to be able to go up against the top dogs? And obviously, we've already seen 2 teams get 3-0'd by Luminosity, so it's not necessarily an expectation of can we come in and win this, but can we come in, do we do our research to do the proper map picks, and are we able to make this a close series?
Yeah, and what do we then take away from that experience as well that they can apply to other teams that will be at the top like you were mentioning? We'll take a look at our picks and bans. I believe this should be coming through here in just a moment, and maybe this will give Disciples a little bit of an edge as those hard point picks come through, Brony.
Yeah, at the very least, you've left Apocalypse, which is one of the stronger hard points for Luminosity until map number 4. So if you can 3-0 them, you won't have to play it. But that's going to be a difficult ask, I think. Hacienda is kind of a map that's been around for a while, so everybody kind of knows how to play for it. So maybe that gives Team Disciples some kind of advantage in the hard point in particular. But as I said, when we get down to that map number 4, I think it's going to be very, very difficult to beat out LG on that.
Yeah, obviously we got Firing Range and Express in the mix as well, so it really does look like the stronger maps for LG are more on the backside of things. Firing Range didn't necessarily look bad for them, but I wouldn't say that's their best search and destroy map by any stretch of the imagination. So not a bad setup right here for Disciples, absolutely giving themselves a chance in this one. And I think eyes have definitely got to be on the search and destroy, as that's the one mode that LG have been consistently close up against the opposition in.
Yeah. I'm glad we don't get to see a Crossroads control, because that would have been concerning at the very least, because that is the best control map for LG. So to not see that, good map vetoes coming out there for TD.
All right, we'll have to see now what Disciples can do with this map set. For now, that means it's time for me to get you guys back on over to that side of the studio because that lobby should be about ready to get going. So off you pop. Match number 2 underway. Let's do it.
All right, mate. Well, looking forward to this one. We're going to get to see whether LG can be taken down. I think they've played 3 matches so far, I want to say, and haven't lost a single map, if my calculations are correct. So the question is, can Disciples be the first team to put some chips in their armor?
I think an even bigger question, are they the first team that can play a close hardpoint map? The hardpoints have been absolute blowouts in every single one. I don't think anybody has been within like 120 points of Luminosity. So to have a hard point that you can keep semi-close would be a great sign. And the Hacienda, once again, great pick to start off. You avoid Apocalypse, at least in the first half of the series. You avoid Takeoff, so I think they've set themselves up for success in this one. And I think that Disciples are in a good spot right now where if they're firing on all cylinders, absolutely they can keep this a close series.
Yeah, for sure. And for me, when we look at Disciples here, I've got to start to see the likes of Hope and Obey coming out strong. They're the players that I've really enjoyed watching on Disciples the most. Granted, very, very different settings, very, very different opponents. So can they play up to snuff versus the likes of LG? And can, as you said, mate, they play a close hardpoint versus them or perhaps even go all the way. We shall see. Big start of the series required for Disciples. I said it before the break. We need to see them come out swinging. Can they get it done?
Nice pinch play out of Washi right there. I believe that was banned on the side to apply that pressure. That's going to be some early time in the hard point for Disciples, but it's not going to be lasting time as LG are the ones locking down map control. Washi on the top side has been difficult to deal with. Marshy, a little push for mid right there to retake that top side control. And once again, Luminosity pretty much untouched since finding that initial break.
A good start from Luminosity. Getting a wealth of time off P1. PV's going to give this one last look for some scrap, but immediately denied here. Threatening Luminosity at the start of this hard point. I think concerning really when we look at kind of the minimap at the moment and where Disciples are spawning, it's nowhere near P2. So they've got to be really careful here that this hard point doesn't snowball away from them, especially when you've got things such as operators in play, because Luminosity could get real control of this hard point early on. But Coldest actually finds a crucial double here around the backline. I thought for a second maybe if he guys finds one more kill, it would influence the spawns enough, but no, not to be the case. So LG will get the first touch at the very least, but Coldest's double will alleviate some pressure.
Well, it's a lot of players looking to push through one angle. We'll see what type of damage they can do as they do get at least one player through to contest, but Tectonic is going to keep this Lambo locked down. Coldest not going to be able to surpass right there. They do get players on right here, and Washi's the last man standing to deal with it, but he does what he needs to. It looks like they'll keep things locked down for right now. A little bit of a split spawn right there. It is going to be Disciples spawning back toward that driveway side and maybe an opportunity to pinch, but with only 20 seconds remaining right here, you got to be cautious with how you approach this. Washi's going to be able to shut down one before finally getting taken down, and it looks like they're almost in a bit of a spawn trap. You got players already rotated out, but you're going to have Hope sitting there for a solid 20 seconds just kind of twiddling his thumbs, waiting for the reinforcements to arrive. He's going to look to lock things down right here, but definitely maybe a little bit overzealous on this rotation of P3.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, look, if you're going to rotate this early towards P3, you need to make sure that you do actually get a wealth of time with this hill. You cannot afford to be broken right away. You cannot afford to let 2 pieces and 3 piece happen in favor of Luminosity. And LG, of course, being the veteran team that they are, I think now this is the time to start to invest some of the operators when you get them. You're seeing Washi with the Annihilator. You're seeing the equalizers coming out of Vegas. He picks up the double. Luminosity immediately, within 15 seconds, breakthrough and down to the operators. Now they're starting to get a good hold as well. Great information coming from the Hellstorm missile that comes down from the sky. Vague with these equalizers. I mean, let me tell you, mate, you already know this, but these things are so powerful. And Vague, I mean, he's just showing us exactly why. Just sitting there, L-triggering with him, no chance for any Disciples players that come across his path.
I believe it was Shift on X that was saying Vague is undoubtedly the best equalizer player in the world. I'm not sure if we can make that claim based on just the action that we saw in week number 1, but he definitely got some solid value off of that one right there. Band actually gets shut down on the attempt to entry for P4 right here, and Coldest Gonna opt to pop his Annihilator right there. Does get shut down. Not a lot of value found. Once again, Disciples have been great on rotation, but the holds have just not been there. Trying to find any semblance of time here. Tectonic on a 5 spree and an EMP as well. Gonna be able to find one to open things up, and LG find the break yet again.
The Rees are just on another bloody level, mate. Luminosity, every single time they know exactly where Disciples are coming from. Zako, crucial double for him there, but Vague answers right back. It's like he's got equalizers just of his standard weaponry. And now Marshy decides it's time to pull out the War Machine as well. Every single lane that Disciples are opting to come from is being watched by the eagle eyes of Luminosity, and not a single player is even being allowed past the scrimmage line at this point. Jeez Louise, every single time that these guys go head-to-head, it's like a 5-for-1 trade in favor of Luminosity. Disciples aren't even getting a look at the hardpoint. It's illegal. They're not allowed.
Yeah, I think for Disciples, this is a weird thing to say, but you gotta stop rotating so early because you're allowing Luminosity that opportunity to close the gap uncontested, and they don't have anybody in cutoff positions to slow them down. So even if you don't have much of a hope of getting the better chunk of the time, at least putting yourself in position to allow those early rotations to mean something, but it just hasn't time and time again. Only 25 seconds through the first set of rotation. Vague gonna pop the equalizers once again, and finding 2 already off the start of that one. Disciples doing everything that they can to hop on the hard point, but it hasn't meant a thing so far.
Luminosity at the moment showing why they are the #1 team in North America, and they deserve to keep that mantle into Season 4. Disciples continue to be railed, rattled, all the R's. Luminosity going to approach the 200-point barrier and cross it. And Disciples at the very least here, as we hit the last 20 seconds of this hill, are on the right side of the map for the rotation, but history tells us that, well, it's not a rotation that'll hold for very long, as Vagues puts some bullets into a body that is most definitely dead at this point. Luminosity just 40 points shy of victory here, Bobby, and I don't think it'll be long before they get it.
It's just wild how literally, the second Disciples get on the hard point, they're instantly dead. Like, I don't think since P1 we've seen them get more than 2 seconds at a time. Every single time Luminosity are there, finding the trades, getting bodies back into that hard point and not allowing anything. Finally, we see a little chunk of time go the way of Disciples. I think that's almost 15 seconds right here, far and away the most that they've seen so far. Luminosity sending out a little more firepower. That's going to be banned with the Purifier. He clears things out. They can potentially win things right here if they can keep this locked down.
Yeah, they've got the break they required. Ban now with the Purifier. This thing has a hell of a range on it. You can just basically pre-fire around the corner here, or Purify around the corner, I should say, for these kills. Smoke, though, going to obscure his vision enough that he allows one player to get past. It's okay, though, because his teammates at the backstop that all he needs. Luminosity can finish it here. Can anybody from Disciples touch in time? You've got one Sparrow on the board for Disciples. Is that enough to make a break happen? Hellstorm missile, Predator missile, excuse me, coming down from the sky. Can anybody touch in time? No. Disciples, 45 points is all they are allowed in game #1, as the Luminosity do not allow anybody to get within 120 points of them.
Yep, we'll see if anybody can. I mean, realistically, the only team that has a chance now, I would say, is Rejects. That being said, Rejects are a really solid hardpoint team, but the fact that nobody through this stage of the competition has been able to get within 100 points is just mind-boggling to think about. Luminosity locked down at every point, and doing it on a map that they're not typically known as being super strong on makes it that much more impressive. The operator usage on point at every turn. To be honest, didn't seem super serious about the rotations, but were so confident that they could break that it didn't really matter.
I mean, that's pretty well-placed confidence, to be honest, isn't it? Because every single rotation that Disciples had, they lost it within 10 seconds. It is just insane. And again, I think, to be fair, we'll contextualize this for you folks at home. For those of you who don't know, Luminosity are not just one of the best teams in North America, they are one of the best teams in the world. I know that their loss to Godlike has kind of rattled that a little bit and put a question mark over it. I still don't think that should be the case. They are still one of the best teams in the world. They are very, very difficult to take down. And also, I think it's notable to say that during the kind of the roster mania shuffle, their roster shuffle was bringing a player in from the bench. It wasn't bringing somebody new into the team. You didn't need to fundamentally overhaul your hard point, because that player knows exactly what you're going to be doing. LG looking just as good as ever in the first map versus Disciples. They shut down the key players that I wanted to see come out to play. Hope and Obey just could not do anything.
And that player they brought in from the bench is also a 2-time world champion, so not necessarily a bad contribution. He also went triple positive right there. It's Vague picking up the, actually, take that back, Tectonic picking up the biggest chunk of the hardpoint time. Very interesting switch that they made heading into Stage 5, moving him as an AR to one of their main OBJs. And it has definitely worked wonders for their hardpoint game, as obviously they take map number 1 right there. Heading into the search and destroy, anticipate to continue that down. It's maybe not to the same level. Seems like hardpoint, definitely their go-to mode. But I think Disciples are still going to have a real tough time here heading into the firing range.
Yeah, search and destroy, man. I mean, this is just like hardpoint, right? You talk about kind of the strategies for the team again, and LG, not much has changed post-Rostermania. The strategies have looked solid all the way throughout. They haven't lost a search and destroy so far. I mean, like, that's implied by the fact they haven't lost a map so far. It's LG. They're looking good. Hopefully, we get to see more of that LG stunningness as we get into firing range, search and destroy. Disciples, you got to have something right out the gates here. Don't know how many times I'm going to say that today, but please, Disciples, deliver us something. And off the back of the start of this round, seems like they're getting aggressive and towards trailer at the release. So the right decisions being made from the rip here.
A little more passive approach than I expected to see from LG off the start of this one as well. I think especially with the momentum they carried from that hardpoint, I would just assume they full send a sight, but definitely playing this very tactically in spite of the performance that we just saw. Tectonic's going to back off right here, see if maybe they can get a sniper in position to take him down, but it's actually going to be Marshy looking to take shots through the wall, and now they're looking to get aggressive over on that A side. They are able to find one, but Hope takes down Washi. Now they back up and look to wrap toward B. The question is, will they make the read onto Coldest?
Yeah, Coldest has a lot to do here. Weight of the world on your shoulders. Will you fall? Yeah, Ban just gonna make him collapse, makes him fold. And now, Luminosity, I mean, this is just going to take a little bit of time to double-check that nobody's around the bomb site, or perhaps the double fake coming through. Disciples, do they read too much into the kill being made early on, or do they read into the fact that Luminosity haven't actually got the bomb down here, and this is actually a fake full stop? It is going to be the latter. Disciples realizing that, hey, that bomb's not gone down. They're probably coming back over towards the site here. Now the noise is starting to be made.
And this is actually not a bad adjustment out of this Disciple squad. They've taken so long that it's put them in a tough spot. Vague knows that there's at least one player in trailer, and Hope continues to overwatch with a sniper in hand. I don't think anyone's picked one up for Luminosity, so if he can find another pick right here, maybe an opening to make way onto that bomb site. But they've got to make a move right now, and they seem very, very hesitant to do so. Hope's not being afforded an angle. Obey looking to wrap toward that backside, but he's not willing to peek out, and it looks like they're just going to play a waiting game, which they don't have time to do.
Big 1v1 around the backline. Obey going to get shut down now. Zako going for the push, Banned with the trade. Nice positioning coming out from LG here. And Hope now the last one left alive in the 1v2. Not really much time, and, well, no hope to pull this 1 versus 2 off, as Ban going to finish things off there. Luminosity, they take a while to get it done, but get it done they do. And, you know, for all that Luminosity did win that round, Disciples, they had every chance to win it, right? I mean, Luminosity handed them a fair few opportunities to get something done.
Almost felt like Luminosity were trying to do too much right there, making the double wrap back. I understand the reasoning behind it, but especially given the performance that we just had, and maybe this is them trying out different strategies, whatever it is, but definitely seeming to overcomplicate things for themselves a little bit right there. Zako's going to be able to find one. Will the trades go through? Yes, they will. Obey's able to take one down before getting taken out. Just like that, into a 2v2 we go, and Hope had eyes, but not able to connect onto the shot. And trying to go 1v1 versus Washi's not going to be easy, but nice little pinch out of Coldest, and just like that, it's banned in a 1v2.
Yeah, Coldest, big plays coming out there to turn this 2 versus 2 into a 2v1, and they know where Band is positioned as well. The problem is Band has a better gunny. And Coldest doesn't check all of the corners there. Reaction from Hope is to come through the middle of the map. Does he go for the jump up? No. Banned. When he gets some bad Call of Duty timing, no. Stacks the L trigger, but Hope with a headshot kill with the pistol, gonna take Banned down. And Disciples win off the 1v1. I will say, though, they wouldn't be in that position without Coldest.
Oh, absolutely not. Huge play out of him right there. Woo. Ooh, and it was perfectly read by Band as well, but the Deagle headshot comes in clutch. Hope watching across mid-map for any entry into trailer, not going to spot anybody there. May have an angle onto Washi, who's top wood right now, but once again, LG playing very, very passive, and maybe these are some changes that we're seeing based on the performance that we saw out of them going up against Godlike in that World Championship map on this same map, but it's interesting to see what this approach has been, as they're not really giving away anything off the start of any of these rounds.
Yeah, LG giving a lot of respect to Disciples at this point. They've got some information based on where Disciples were in the previous offensive effort. They know that Coldest is probably going to be chilling around the B bomb site. But bomb isn't actually going in that direction. It's going over towards A, so maybe perhaps Luminosity are hoping that if they find that one frag versus Coldest, the noise will give Disciples an idea that the bomb is going over to B. If that is the case, well, now it is. Coldest, a lot to do. Repositioning here for a less acute angle, and Tectonic with a snipe going to take him down regardless. Now numbers most certainly hefty in favor of LG. 5 versus 3, make it a 5 versus 2. Washi is sniping all of them away. And Obey now for the 1v5. He is in no man's land.
Little flank right here. Should be one player on flank watch, ready for it. And there's Tectonic with a sniper in hand in case Vague does drop. All the information's been given away, but Tectonic's going to handle business himself. Luminosity take the lead back in this one. Now up 2-1. And curious if maybe we see a change of pace right here. It's been a surprisingly slow start to some of these rounds, which feels like it's given at least some semblance of an advantage to this Disciple squad. Tectonic not going to be able to connect through trailer right there. And once again, LG very content to play in spawn. One player's made his way all the way through mid-map, though. That's going to be Marshy, but he gets red. And Disciples, once again, find the man advantage.
Well played from Disciples. I was curious as to how much information Luminosity had off the start of the round. Not as much as they would have hoped. Speaking of hope, big 1v1 in which he will escape from Vague. A little bit more information gained there from Luminosity, but all in all, with 1 minute 20 left on the clock here in this round, Luminosity is still searching for a way to penetrate the defense. Will it come by way of this brute force effort in towards A, or will it be the 1v1 over by B? Well, it's not going to be the latter as Washi falls. Luminosity now need to full send towards this A site or try and find a way out of this predicament. Luminosity got cards all over the table at the moment.
Disciples are doing a really good job of countering and making sure that they capitalize on what LG is giving to them. Coldest has been able to push his way all the way up through jungle. Does get traded out right there. Would have been nice to be able to get a life, and just like that, it's a 2v2 right here. Both players onto B, and should be a free plant for this Luminosity squad. I'm
not sure I like that play from Coldest, to be honest with you, getting out of position where he could have just kind of played a little bit more passively around B and helped out his teammates if required, because now he's off the board. B-bomb site is entirely in control for Luminosity here with 30 seconds left. That timer will be extended as the bomb will be planted regardless of what Disciple would desire.
Bomb has been planted.
Now what does the reaction look like for Disciples? How do you approach this one? Luminosity have stuffed themselves into cubby. One sniper, one SMG for LG. Tectonic watching the lane but turns away at the wrong time there. Call of Duty timing enables Disciples a good look at this site. Obey with a pre-fire. I think shots also starting to come out from Hope here. So this is a lot of information that Disciples have given away to LG in this situation. And LG, knowing where both of these players are, just backing off towards the site to get some better angles here. Trophy system pulled away. Slide out towards the site. Obey doesn't check the close corner. Hope going to find the 1v1 though. And all that Tectonic needs to do in this situation is just hide away for the right moment to check the bomb. Surely dead to rights. Hope is going to move away from it, and Tectonic will blow himself up. It doesn't matter. It's a Pyrotic victory. It's a victory nonetheless.
Yeah. That's a well-played adjustment out of Luminosity, and once again, Disciples not able to make anything out of the man advantage that they had found. Maybe a slightly different approach from Coldest finds a different outcome for them. Tectonic, nobody giving him anything across that mid-entry right there, and we see that same approach, waiting in spawn, hoping those snipers can find some picks off the start. No aggression over toward the B site. And Disciples will continue to take it every chance that they can get. But there's Washi finding first blood onto Zako. And that could be the opening that Luminosity are looking for.
Still don't seem convinced just yet, do Luminosity. They want another frag before making the move forward, although I will say the defense for Disciples has become quite predictable at this point. PB, unconventional though, pushes up towards the steps of the first kill. Trade looking good for Washi. And now the bomb should be going down for LG. It's technically a 3 versus 3 over by the site. Wildcard player in the form of Marshy that might come by a late hit, but Washi, he's going to get it done himself, finds the second kill there. And now Coldus and Obey left alive here. And again, keeping an eye on number 1 on the minimap. That's Marshy coming on the flank.
Oh, he's looking for the execution right there, and Coldus has absolutely no idea. Trying to make the move right here, and he finds the execute button. Unfortunate for Disciples as they will drop another round, and not in pretty fashion.
Ready up.
Yeah, Disciples, I gotta say, I want to see something different on the defense here. This is why I want more round to go before we switch over, but something different needs to be there because they've done the same setup pretty much every single round. Luminosity are not the kind of team that's not going to read that. Like, they know what's going on here. They're not silly. Same kind of setup. Once again, first blood for Tectonic, keeping an eye out for Hope. Information from Washi, he would have seen both of those players in towards the trailer, but Washi actually gets approached from the middle of the map here, and hold on for a second here, folks. Very quickly, this round has fallen apart for Luminosity as Disciples do something different at the start. They get aggressive.
Definitely unexpected right there. Marshy is body shooting as he's in a 1v4 over on the A bomb site. I don't think the guy that you're shooting the body of even knows what's happening. Zako's going to capitalize, go ahead and close things out right there. So we get ready to flip sides. That's going to put Disciples on the offense. And right now, Luminosity don't seem too terribly concerned about giving away a round for free. Well, I will say somewhat concerning that Marshy was able to get pretty much completely through mid-map for free every single time that he wanted to. Maybe an adjustment in need for Disciples, but now that we get over to the offensive side, it's Hope finding first blood on Tectonic.
I love this coming out from Disciples. Fast, aggressive. We love to see it. Marshy overwhelmed. We'll find one before falling. Before he does, Luminosity one player down. Vey trying to cook up a nade, and, well, it's raw. Washi. 1 versus 3. That bomb now going to get planted. Now looking for the exit frags. Hits the kneecap of Zako. Survives the engagement. Zako actually gives him a real good look there. Washi, though, predicts exactly where Zako's gone. So that is a 1 versus 3 now. Converted to a 1 versus 2. No response from Obey. Washi checking every single corner of the bomb site. Trying to hunt down these last 2 remaining players here. In from behind. Washi, does he find them? There's one, the quick scope for the second. Oh, look at him. Obey takes him down, and rightly so. You lose that. Close your game.
Oh, the crosshairs were lined up as well. He was maybe a few milliseconds away from making that one happen. But Disciples avoid it, and they take the first 2 rounds here. Washi does connect to the wall bang right there, but not going to be enough for a kill. Hit marker it is as Disciples get very aggressive over here onto A. And the question is, Washi going to be able to do anything about it? He's forced back. There's no trailer control right here for Luminosity. They're going to send nades on in to see if they can weaken that defense, but bomb's going to be able to go down right here. Question is, can they hold off the retake?
Team Shot's looking good for the first frag and the second as well. Obey has to find more than one inside the trailer. Can't get it done. Luminosity looking so strong, and they've just located Hope as well. Overwhelmed are they, and Luminosity find a round. And that gave me kind of vibes from what we saw in the hard point, right, Bobby, where Luminosity gave up the rotation to Disciples, and then within 15 seconds just grabbed it right away. They gave up the bomb site to Disciples and immediately took it back. That is just how strong their team play is.
Yeah, Disciples maybe a little overzealous with the instant plant right there, but LG were not bothered by it one bit. And this time, a little bit more passive approach from this Disciple squad. Not really sending a whole lot one direction and not really peeking across mid-map in general. They're very content to hold these crosses on the inside of Wood and see if they can bait LG into an over-aggressive defensive push. I don't anticipate we'll see LG move out of these positions anytime soon, though. Washi going to be content to wait for a peek from top Wood, and this is, once again, exactly what LG are looking for.
To be honest, I'm kind of confused as to why we've seen a change of pace coming out from Disciples, because the aggression was not the problem in the last couple of rounds. It was the reaction from Luminosity that caused them any issues, if any at all. Disciples changing the pace has given full map control away from Luminosity. You've kind of pegged yourself into the hole here. Disciples now looking for something. Marchi getting aggressive towards the backline. Does get shut down there. So actually, baiting out a Luminosity player, maybe that was part of the plan all along.
I didn't think that they would make the push, but if anybody's going to do it, it's going to be Marshy. He ends up paying for it. Tectonic locking down the backside. He's going to be able to shut down two, and he's keeping B clear as long as he can. Zako gets spotted out. He has no idea that Vague's tucked away behind the car, and now Luminosity 1 round away from extending out to a 2-0 lead.
Yeah, and that is the problem there with taking so long to get anything going for Disciples. Even if you get the first blood, you do not have control of the map at all, and you kind of put yourself at risk of trying to chow angles, which are certainly not in your favor, and certainly not versus the likes of Tectonic. Luminosity, biggest grins on their faces right now as they play out what could be the last round of this search and destroy. Luminosity a little bit more control over the site this time around. Vague chilling inside the trailer. And look at this from Disciples, though. A lot of noise being made over towards A. Now they're backing all the way around to B. I need to see a full commitment from Disciples here. Got to be careful, though, because Marshy's on the hunt.
Oh, he should be able to find at least one right here, make it two, and that should be enough for them to make the read. Some body shots go through there as well. Coldest going to go for the instant plant right here, but with no map control, no man advantage, they got to win the opening gunfights, and they can't seem to do it. Coldest looks to push out. He's able to shut down Vague to open things up, but Ban's going to get aggressive right here. He gets red, and now all down to Zako. At this point, probably trying to avoid the execution more than anything else. 26 seconds here for Luminosity. Ban not going to play with his food. He hits the defuse right there. Search and destroy Demon as of late. 13 kills for him, and he has certainly bounced back since that World Championship performance that we saw in Meltdown.
Yeah, and I'll be honest. I mean, no disrespect here to Disciples whatsoever. You're a stellar squad, but that should have been a 7-0. And the only reason it wasn't is because Luminosity were doing exactly what they were doing against Mayhem the other day, which is, I think, being a little too laxative, messing around a little bit on a few of the rounds, because that was exactly the same situation, right, where they went to overtime. I think the middle of the search and destroy, they kind of just chilled out a little bit. They were just chilling. They were being mellow. And exactly the same kind of scenario here, where maybe just Luminosity were chuckling a few rounds away to Disciples just because they could, to be frank. LG, though, when they're firing on all cylinders, and you saw it there towards the back half of the search and destroy, which the retakes from them were insane. So, loving what I'm seeing out of LG here in the search and destroy.
Yep. They get ready to head into a control that is on a map they've played a decent number of times here. That raid is where they've definitely felt comfortable, maybe not quite as comfortable as the Crossroads, but it definitely has not looked like a weak point in their game by any stretch of the imagination. Obviously, looking back at the replay, Tectonic locking down that backside completely ruins the round for Disciples for any chance of a comeback. And Marshy, nice little play from top wood, shuts down a couple more. Luminosity, they're handling business right here. They're making those changes from the maps that they looked weakest on in World Champs, and looking mighty scary for the rest of North America.
Here's a look at the stats at the end of that game then. Ban 13 kills. You talked about it there very briefly, Bobby. Looking pretty good. Integral to a number of round victories there for LG. On the other side of things, though, again, you need to see somebody step up to the board here, because every single player across the board was negative. That's just kind of to be expected. I'll say that much. You know, there's not much you can do when LG are playing like LG. So Team Disciples, at the very least, keeping things relatively close on Search and Destroy. Will Control be the same story, though? That's the question for me. As you said, it is a different map to Crossroads, at the very least. So we're going to be seeing a raid here, I think, for a map number 3. Will that help them? Though, maybe
anything's possible, you know. Once again, this is really just a test for these guys of how close can you keep it, how much of a hope can you give yourself that you can potentially take down really any of the other squads. Doesn't necessarily even have to be Truly. I don't think they're a definitive 4th seed right now, given how closely they were able to play LG. But if you can take down Rejects, if you can take down Mayhem, if you can take down Truly, you got to find a way to take out one of those guys if you want to be able to advance for the playoffs. And that's the big task for all of these newer teams. I won't necessarily call them bottom 4 teams because they're not bottom 4 on the scoreboard, but definitely the teams that have the most to prove heading into the rest of this competition.
Yeah, for sure. You just need to take a map of one of these teams, right? Just to get some kind of confidence boost moving into the rest of this tournament. This is still only week 2, right? There's still pretty early doors. You can still kind of make a recovery if you've not had the best of starts. But we do need to see kind of these teams start to take some maps off the bigger teams in the tournament, in the competition. Because right now, I think across the board, we kind of have a gulf in quality, I want to say, or at least a gulf in results, where you're seeing 3-0s from the top teams to the low teams. And that's why we saw what we saw last week, right? Where it was just 3-0s across the board on broadcast. We only saw one game 5 and we didn't even see that. We need to see some kind of competitiveness coming out from these squads, and we need to see it right now. We need to see it here. Give us a raid control that goes to a round 5, or give us a map number 4. Give us something. Give us an Apocalypse hardpoint. Like, we need to see some kind of competitive coming out of the likes of Disciples against LG, because this is where you need to start finding that next gear, right? Because if you want to get yourselves to playoffs, not even thinking about Masters, if you want to get yourselves to playoffs, that needs to happen really now, needs to start now.
Yeah, I would say of the newer teams, Disciples arguably the best chance of making it into playoffs. We'll see what they can do right here as we do get Vague aggressive over toward that A side. He's going to look to the lockdown Cabana. There should be some sort of indication for these Disciple players that there's at least one player here. They're going to be able to trade him out. They get players on the objective, looking to stack it right here. Washy, shots are not going to connect. That's one tick of progress through already. Reinforcements will arrive, and Coldest going to look to lock down that heady, but it's Marshy picking up 2 right there. Only one player left to defend. He's shut down as well. Just like that, they're forced to hit over toward B.
When you say forced, it's not the end of the world for Disciples here. They haven't got much resistance to go up against at the moment, so a stack would actually do them pretty well if they can make it happen. 3 players on the point, so now you're going to see B fly past as long as Luminosity don't do anything about it. And, well, that as long as doesn't actually last all that long, to be honest. Just one player remaining after a flurry of kills starts to come through from Luminosity. And, well, now you're starting to take the P a little bit, guys. Come on. Shooting bodies only a minute into the control. It's not very respectful, is it? But Disciples, they're actually okay with this as long as they can start to get some gunfights, and that's a big if, because I was going to say, Bobby, they're making the right decisions as far as rotating towards the other control point is concerned, and they've already got 2 ticks of progression on each.
Well, LG attempt the Zim spawn trap, but are actually not able to set it up properly, so that's going to leave one player all alone on the inside of Garage. Another player there to reinforce, but finally Vague makes the read, and that is a quick 3-piece as he's going to be able to do the damage right there. Does not read the spawn, though. He's taken down, and once again, now all down to Washy. He's sitting on a 5-3 right now, and Marshy's going to push up to apply some more pressure. 20 lives separating these two. It's not going to matter one way or another a whole lot what the outcome of this one is. Might be able to earn a pred, not meant to be, as it is going to be Team Disciples at least trying to give themselves a little bit of hope. They get one player onto B to try to get the capture locked in. Hope shut down in the top side. Now all down to Obey and Zako.
Well, at least they captured B. Every cloud, right? Marshy and Vague finishing things off there, and what was a brutal round for Disciples. Just no control whatsoever. Luminosity, as you said, trying to get that spectacular spawn trap into effect. And they almost did it. Certainly the pressure was not nice to be under if you're a Disciples. You need to have a better go at things here. Start off strong. Shut down LG before they can get going. First push for LG, straight over towards B. A couple of players in the middle of the map as well, and Vague thinks it's time now to bring the equalizers into play. Make a statement at the start of the round, because why on earth not? Because you're Vague! And you're going to destroy them. 3 in a row for Vague. Great start for Kim. Coldest now the last one alive, and he won't be alive for long. Vague now starting to force the issue as well. These players, as soon as they exit jungle, as soon as they find their way into the woods of the kitchen, they will be well and truly cooked. Finally, Vague goes down, but the damage is done. He creates so much space for LG.
Yeah, that's going to be a quick B cap. It is raining preds from above. No response from Disciples. I am a little bit intrigued that the Zim spawn trap didn't work right there, because it looked like LG had set it up perfectly. Does make me wonder if in the recent update, maybe there was a tweak to the raid control spawns, because once again, it looked like they were in perfect position to make that happen. So maybe some potential game plan changes. Luminosity not really needing to change their game plan. They set up 6 lives. and they've already gotten B locked in. One player already hitting the wrap toward that A side. That's going to be Washy with an Annihilator in hand. Big swing and a miss, though. That's some missed value, and Zayko's going to pop the equalizer right here. Does find 2, but taken down. There's Marshy. It seems like every kill is followed up by some bonus body shots as well. Luminosity get things cleared off. Banned. One more player left to deal with right here, but it's Tectonic picking up the kill, and once again, they get players onto the objective.
Yeah, Disciples just haven't been able to install anybody in the power positions to deal with what has been overwhelming pressure from Luminosity. Overwhelming 2 pieces, 3 piece, a constant flurry that Disciples have just found themselves crushed under. Now down to the final 4 players. Hope going to invest the Sparrow to try and change their fortunes, but it's not to be. Disciples crushed in round number 1, crushed in round number 2. LG looking good with it. They invested quite a lot of streaks into that round, so at the very least here for Disciples, positives, you don't have to deal with any of that in round number 3. There is only 1 operator on side for LG now.
You get rid of the streaks, and you've also got 3 operators to work with if you want them. So Vague gets some information right here and only going to find 1. So if you're Team Disciples, not the end of the world. You do see one of those operators invested, and that's a nice flank watch position for Disciples right here, as they're going to be able to take down 1, make it 2. Obey pushed way up with that Purifier in hand. He's going to be able to find a way for himself, and more than likely nobody going to have an avenue to get into Kitchen, but a nice pinch play right here. Looks like one of them will get red. As right now, Marshy looking to clear out that last player. He's not going to be able to do it.
Yeah, big kill coming out from PB. You don't want to just whip the claw out and immediately die. So for him to play his life is integral. But now you need to do more. You're the only player over here. Going to run out of time on the claw. Now try to do as much damage as you can over by money. Going to get shut down, though. That's not the end of the world for Disciples here, as they're now starting to make some progress happen on B. Meaningful progress at that. Zayko going to take down Vague, that looked relatively stationary there. Not too sure what the gambit was, but regardless, Disciples now the second tick of progression done over by B. Luminosity do not look like they want to give this a go for whatever reason here. Starting to get the lax Luminosity vibes again.
Yep, Coldest still has an Annihilator to work with if he wants it as well. Does not find the angle onto Washy, so he's going to look to get aggressive with this and loses progress at the worst time possible. Nice little 2-piece out of Washy. And they may be forced to try to clutch this in a 4v5, as it looks like Vague's continuing to have issues right here. Down 3 lives, what can they make of it? Marshy doesn't need the ADS right there. Hipfire will do. Can't find the last one, but Tectonic's going to continue to lock down that money window. And as long as he's there, there's not going to be an easy avenue for Disciples. They have got to deal with him, but not if he's got anything to say about it.
Tectonic's still alive over here as well. Wants to shut this down in a 3-0 fashion. Still a chance to do it as well. Marshy now wants to join in the fun over by Jungle. Nice crossfire from Obey as well. Vague's left the game? All right, well, Luminosity now in a 4 versus 5. We'll see whether that changes the chances of Disciples here on this defensive effort. Tectonic decides it's time for the Sparrow to come into play, and he's just spawn trapping them now. Hope around the back line. Just going to stay stationary here for the moment. Tectonic, though, he is on the hunt for every single one of these kills. Goodness gracious me. Disciples, these guys have families, for goodness sake. Luminosity now in a 10 versus 5 here, Bobby, looking to hunt them down.
4v5, and it just... Or 10v5, yeah, 4v5, and it just doesn't matter. Band's going to be able to hunt down another one. Equalizer drops for Zayko. Now it's down to Obey and Coldest. They're going to be able to hunt down 1. Washy does get wiped off of his Annihilator as well, but still 2v8 going to be the life count right here. Not a single mistake can be afforded to Team Disciples, and Coldest gets shut down. Make it a 1v8 as Obey wiped off the map, and Luminosity, even in a 4v5 final round, are able to take care of business, and they take the 3-0.
Yeah, another one of those, eh? LG doing LG things here in the Snapdragon Pro Series as they 3-0 Disciples. Disciples, ah man, it's just so rough because at least in round number 3 they looked somewhat more competitive, but the first 2 rounds were just... It was not nice to watch. If you're a Disciples fan, they got decimated right off the rip. I mean, that first round from LG was something else.
Had the spawn trap actually worked, it would have been even uglier than what it was. But the fact that they were able to do that and still win by, what, 23 lives, whatever it was, that's what you expect out of LG. The fact that we've got top-tier teams who made it to stage 5 playoffs that are getting 3-0'd by them, and they're handling like it's nothing, I think tells you about the quality of this team. And I think the loss to Godlike may very well be what they needed to start locking in a little bit more. Is to a certain degree, it made the amount of praise that they had gotten may have made them a little bit lackadaisical. They did not look that way at all in this game or in any of the games we've seen out of them so far.
Really, really strong performance out of LG. Not surprising, though. I mean, I think at this point, everyone is expecting near perfection from LG when it comes to their performance here in this season of the challenge, especially after, like you said, almost having like a little bit of a fire lit under them after champs. So LG now twice, both off stream and in this match that we just watched on stream, they are 2-0 for today, 3-0 in both of those series. So they have had a very strong performance here so far. We have 2 more matches on the day, and this is the 50% point of week number 2, which means we've got Goofy Goovers versus Team NBA coming up around the corner. Bobby, want to do a little bit of a preview of that one?
Goofy Goovers have not had a lot of success so far, but I have a feeling that they will find some success here in this matchup.
NBA could do something here.
I feel like your face was waiting to kind of argue this one back and forth.
Look, maybe. Look, NBA, they've got a chance here for sure. Goofy Goovers, though, I mean, it's hard to argue, right? I mean, Goofy Goovers, they pushed it to a game of 5 versus Team Disciples, so I feel like this does definitely favor them.
All right, well, we'll have to see which one of these teams can get a win on the board for themselves here in match number 3. If you're just joining us and you missed the first 2 matches, go check out the beginning of the VOD, or make sure you check out our social media, because you can get all of the updates that you might have missed there so far. Otherwise, we're just going to keep this thing going, right? We're going to keep on moving forward. Hopefully, we'll give everybody a little bit of a short break before we do that, though. And then match number 3 right around the corner between Goofy Goovers and Team NBA. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
The Snapdragon Pro Series powered by Samsung Galaxy is brought to you by Snapdragon Elite Gaming, Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra, Monster Energy, DHL.
Welcome to the place where dreams come true. Where everything you want can be yours. If and only if you're willing to work for them. You're willing to hurt for them. But most of all, you're willing to be first for them. Ha! Look, I'm going straight to the top. I don't know how I would stop, like it or not. I got some goals that I'm hitting. You hear what I'm spitting, it's hot. Look what I got, whole lot of passion and pain. The road to success is insane. Stay out my lane.
The Snapdragon Pro Series powered by Samsung Galaxy is brought to you by Snapdragon Elite Gaming, Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra, Monster Energy, DHL, and the U.S. Air Force.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Snapdragon Pro Series, where we're about to look towards match number 3 on the day, which means we're at the 50% mark for week 2 of the Challenge Season 4 as well. We mentioned it before the break. Match number 3 is Goofy Goobers versus Team NBA. We'll dive into it. We'll just get straight into it. We'll start chatting about the teams. Give me your thoughts on both the individual teams, Brody.
Goofy Goobers have looked pretty good, I think it's fair to say. I think the Game 5 versus Disciples is probably the most convincing aspect of their entire run so far. It's like, look, quite clearly Goofy Goobers are a capable squad. It's just whether or not they can do that against the top teams. I'm really excited by what this roster brings to the table. I'm looking at players like Venti and Excellence, for example. I know they've got a lot of potential. It's just realizing that, I think, in a team setting, when they come down to facing off against the top squads here in the Snapdragon Pro Series, whether or not they can actually kind of activate that potential. Because I believe they got destroyed by Truly. I want to say, I think I got like 3-0'd by Truly. So that's probably not a good sign for kind of that aspect of it.
Well, on the flip side, we've got Team NBA, and we did talk about this at the top of the show, Bobby. This is the week where some of these teams need to make a move. Someone's got to get a win on the board if they want to keep themselves in the running here. Talk to me about Team NBA.
For Team NBA, I'm glad these guys are having an opportunity to... I'm glad they're having an opportunity to really test themselves up against the top competition. Obviously, even in the matches that they've had against our newer teams, they've not looked super strong. I did see, like I said, I saw Light playing Rank S scrims, so hopefully a couple extra reps under his belt, maybe a couple teammates joining, maybe an opportunity for them to give Goofy Goobers a test. But I've got a feeling the Goovers are not going to be goofing around.
Are we going to get Goofy Goober puns the whole time?
What are we doing? What are we doing?
Yeah, he even had a Goofy Goobers pun when we went into the break.
I did?
Yeah, because you
was that intentional?
You even called Brody a Goofy Goober. I mean, it's
Did I?
a name.
That's like a regular part of my vocabulary, so that's...
It's the dad brain.
On the daily?
I do say it on the daily.
Just when you wake up in the morning.
I call my daughter Goofy Goober all the time.
This makes all the sense in the world now. We'll take a look at these picks and bans as they come through and see if any of these will look to benefit either Goofy Goobers or Team NBAs. We have the hard point selection starting with Takeoff, Bobby.
I believe Takeoff is where we saw Team NBA get smoked by Disciples, if I remember correctly. So that's not a great sign for them. I'm not sure if we've seen Goofy Goobers there before, but just given Team NBA's history on the map, I don't feel great about that opening.
Yeah, for sure. I think Team NBA are just going to kind of struggle on Takeoff regardless. I think we've seen it from them in the qualifier, I want to say, against Zero Remorse, and I think they got destroyed on it, which is not a good sign considering they kind of replaced Zero Remorse last minute. So for sure, Takeoff is going to be a questionable one for me just to see kind of what the improvements look like for them. As we get into the Search and Destroy, though, Express should be a good look, honestly. I'm kind of excited to see what we get from Express. It's one we don't often get to see enough. I think a lot of teams just kind of avoid it entirely. It could be a good opportunity, I think, for Team NBA. I don't think they've played it yet, for them to actually find a way into this series.
I don't love it because it is not a ranked S&D map, which makes me think that Team NBA may have not played it before. We do get the raid control right there to round things out, which I would assume is probably the direction Goofy Goobers are leaning as well. So I like the way the series shapes up for them, and I think if they handle business, this can be a 3-0 their direction.
All right, well, we've seen quite a few of those here so far when it comes to those 3-0s. We'll have to see if Goofy Goobers continues on in the same fashion, if Team NBA show up and get themselves in that discussion when it comes to picking things up. Like we have mentioned before, it's only the second week, but they also kind of came in last minute, so they didn't have as much time to kind of prepare and get themselves ready for this. Now they've got a week in between week number 1, week 2 to make some adjustments, and we'll see if they're able to do that. I'm excited to get into match number 3. Chat, also, I haven't asked you yet. Give us your thoughts, and I'll ask you preemptively because we might get sucked into a rabbit hole before match number 4. Give us your thoughts on both matches 3 and 4 and who you think is going to be taking them home. For this one, will it be Goofy Goovers or do you think it'll be Team NBA? And then for the last match of the day, do you think it will be Team Mayhem or will it be the Rejects? All right, I want to hear your thoughts and see if they line up with what our casters say both now and later. What are you thinking?
I genuinely thought you were going to ask predictions then.
No, I was going to leave it. I was going to let...
It would be you to do that. So.
I was going to leave it, let you think about it. If you want to talk about it, you can choose to do it when you're on the other side of the studio. Mm-hmm. But I'm not gonna push it.
Bobby, you're 3-0.
3-0. Goofy Goovers.
I already knew where Bobby was.
Yes, yeah.
I knew where Bobby is.
How about this one? NBA 3-0. Just straight off the bat.
I mean, it's 50-50. There you go.
For sure.
Like flipping a coin.
Look, maybe they have learned from the last week of play.
I don't think it's a learning issue.
No.
The two of you, they've been making each other laugh since we went to the break, so they are barely focused, all right? I'm going to send them on over to the other half of the studio, get themselves composed so we can get into match number 3 and see how this goes.
All right, Bobby.
It's, this is a battle of 2 giants right here. Based on the pictures I saw, there's a literal giant on Team NBA. So we'll see. We'll see if that's enough to boost them into their first victory here in the Snapdragon Pro Series.
I'm sorry, guys. It's Bobby. Keeps making me laugh. Look, let's be serious here for a second. NBA, there was a chance for them to climb back into... Stop smiling at me. There was a chance for them to climb back into this series with, like, what? Just, look, if they start the series with a map victory, right? Just, like, come out here, even if it's a close one, we'll say, 250 to, 240. I think they'll be okay. Honestly, I think they'll be perfectly fine.
You okay?
Yeah, you've killed me. But yeah, I think they'll be perfectly fine. They just need to find a map win somewhere along the line. I think, like you say, they've got a lot of VOD to have reviewed between the first and the second weeks of play. If they review that and they realize, look, here's where we're going wrong. Because very often I think I do say, fundamentally, some teams do not get stuff wrong, right? It just comes down to the gunfights more often than not. I think sometimes when we looked over towards the first 2 series, NBA did get some fundamental rotations incorrect. I think if they can fix those, they actually are in for a chance here to start kind of gaining some traction moving forward into the SPS.
Yeah, I think operator usage is one thing that every one of these newer teams can focus on, just being more calculated, using it on crucial hard points. I think looking at the takeoff hard point, focusing primarily on locking in P3 and making sure that you get a good start to try to chain that to P4. And then also, I think a big issue for Team NBA has just been consistency. There's always been one player that is lagged behind pretty significantly relative to the rest of the squad, so I don't know if there are substitutions that need to be made, or if maybe just a change of roles, whatever that would look like for these players. But I'd say they absolutely, it's not a guaranteed 3-0 by any stretch of the imagination up against Goofy Goovers, but these guys have absolutely got to lock it in right here. Because for them, this is really do or die. If you lose this matchup, your hopes of making it anywhere inside of top 6 for the season are pretty much chalked.
Yeah, I think the conversation we've been having consistently is what do the top teams outside of the top 4 look like, right? And maybe even outside the top 3, because again, we're not 100% certain the Truly's in there yet. I think we're pretty certain, but we're not 100% certain the Truly's in there just yet, because someone could still come out and shock them. So for us here, it's still trying to gauge where do rosters like Team NBA and Goofy Goobers sit?
Okay, guys. I know you're doing a great job having a conversation over there, but I have breaking news. For what's going on right now. Unfortunately, Team NBA has forfeited this match. So the win will go to Goofy Goovers. I can bring you guys back on over to this side of the studio so we can get a little bit reset and prepared for the next match. We might have to do some waiting to make sure Team Mayhem has had enough time to get off of their off-stream match as well, because they will be who's coming up around the corner for match number 4. But that is how the cookie crumbled.
Yes.
Does that mean my 3-0 prediction is correct?
I honestly thought about that. I might just have to give you the win for that, Bobby.
Give him that.
You know.
That's a technicality. That's not allowed.
I didn't say that it wasn't a technical victory.
Gladly win on a technicality.
That's true.
I have
Bobby's
no
just
shame.
padding his stats right now.
Yeah, he needs it. He needs it after all.
Call me Joel
After
Embiid.
the omniscient prediction earlier on in the season. Needs that.
Wait.
All right, well.
Okay, yep.
Yeah,
It took
you
me
got
a
that.
second.
Took it there.
It's very late here. I'm sorry.
All right, well, we're just going to continue on. Like we've been mentioning, the 4th match of the day is Mayhem versus Rejects. This is one that we've been looking forward to all day. So I'm not sure how much time we have for now. Let's just start talking about Mayhem and Rejects, whether you want to focus them on an individual level, Brody, or whatever. But let's start the discussion.
Yeah, for sure. It's a really big discussion. I mean, like, it's kind of difficult to even start talking about these two rosters because they are two of the behemoth rosters in North America. They've been like that for a very, very long time, and they've got a lot of history facing off against one another. The last time they faced off, it was a Rejects victory. We'll talk about that a little bit more later on. But since then, there's been changes, right? And I think this is the key thing. Since then, we've seen roster changes. So now I think for us, it's a case of, where do these rosters sit now? Mayhem, we got a look at them last week versus LG, versus a top roster, and it did not look like this Mayhem roster were the kind of dominant Mayhem roster that we wanted to see, but it should be said, there is an asterisk on it that they didn't have Kings at the time, and Kings is a very good player. So whether or not Kings is now back here for this matchup, which I think you probably would need to be, it will, I think, change the storyline for me.
So I've actually heard that King's substitution was a calculated move for this Mayhem roster. So it is very possible that we will not see him starting once again up against Rejects. Obviously, that was something that I heard around the time that last weekend's matches happened, and with the speed at which rosters change in the COD Mobile world, it's 100% possible he could be back in the starting lineup. But we'll see. I feel like Jesus Can Save You had a solid performance last week. Definitely still not anywhere near his best performances, but felt like we saw improvements from the Jesus that we saw in Stage 5, because once again, the numbers he was putting up there were way below what he is used to putting up. So I think if we can see a little bit more consistency there, I know he plays a huge leadership role for this squad, and obviously that's not something that you want to give up. Just as one of the vocal leaders on your team, you do want him to be there in the middle of the action. But we'll see what the changes end up looking like, as obviously the addition of Envy for this Reject squad, I would say undisputedly more impactful than any of the changes that we've seen for Team Mayhem.
Yeah, for sure. Envy is a big pickup. I mean, I've been saying this since like day one since it happened, right? Envy leaving LG and being on this team is such a massive boost of power for this roster, because Envy was one of the top slayers on LG at the time. LG are full of top slayers, let's be honest about it. But Envy is still a massive pickup for any team. He was a consistent performer on that roster, and so far for the Rejects, from the little that we've seen from them, it looks as if he's continuing to play that role on the Rejects. He's a very, very good player. He's a very, very good fill-in for this roster, and I can only see this being an improvement for the Rejects. I think unlike some of the other roster changes where maybe it's like, not necessarily questionable, but you've still got to have a conversation about it. I don't think there is any conversation in that putting Envy on a roster is a good thing. It is a good thing, factually.
All right, well, I've got a couple of updates. The match is actually going to be ready really quickly. We managed to get everybody ready to go. To button up this conversation, that off-stream match that did just happen and finish, Mayhem was able to 3-0 Sane. So Mayhem's now coming off of a 3-0 victory, heading straight into this match up against Rejects. And the picks and bans are already getting started. We can get them up here to start talking about it. We're just kind of keeping the flow going here, moving everything in, and we're starting here on Arsenal, Bobby.
This is not based on numbers. This is just based on what I can vaguely remember, but I like that pick for Team Mayhem. They do have a much more passive play style, I would say, than that of Team Rejects. And I think especially the swap for space to Envy, not a bad change, but it definitely makes them a more aggressive team. So we'll see what that does for them on a map like Arsenal. But this is not a map I've seen either of these teams play a whole lot, so I'm very interested. And then looking to Hacienda, I think that definitely goes the way of Rejects with that I believe, being a map that they took off of LG, if I'm not mistaken, in Stage 5.
Yeah, for sure. One thing I will say is the Summit has been banned. I'm going to go ahead and presume that that was Rejects that banned that, considering they lost it in that best of 3 during Champs. Also banned over here, or not being played, I should say, is the Slums, which is really funny, considering, again, this is another map that we saw in the best of 5 between those two, or best of 3 between those two teams last time around. It went all the way to like around 20, which is like the furthest Search and Destroy overtime can go. We will not be seeing it here. Instead, we get a Tunisia and a firing range. So, seems like so far, these teams have done a good job of avoiding a repeat of the map set, and that's gone all the way through because there wasn't a crossroad strike in that series as well. So it's all new. It's all new to us here.
Purposeful. Feels very purposeful. No 20-round S&D coming your way here, Bobby.
Yeah, once again, I'm not really sure what to make of the Tunisia either, mainly because it's not a map that we get to see either of these two teams play terribly often, because they usually ban it, given that that's LG's strongest search and destroy map. So it'll be interesting to see how they pair off in that. Obviously, road to victory for Team Mayhem is probably going to be through the search and destroy. That's been their strongest game mode for a while. You got a crossroads strike there. You were able to take at least 1 round off of LG last week, and pretty much all the rounds that they played were close. So I got to think that they're feeling fairly confident about that. But once again, this is a fresh-looking Rejects roster that I think has the potential to create a lot of issues.
All right, well, this is definitely our marquee matchup of the day, so I hope everybody in chat, you are ready to get into it a little bit earlier than you thought. It's time for me to send you on over to the other half of the studio. Let's get this match underway.
I feel like I've been treated a little bit here, Bobby, mate.
I'm not mad. This is, yeah, the fact that we get a bunch of fresh maps in a setup for two teams that we've seen so many times before definitely should make for an entertaining series. But yeah, I'm really liking the way that we're looking toward this one, and should be a banger.
Yeah, for sure. Really excited to get into this one, folks. Again, this is a really important matchup for these two teams because it could well decide kind of maybe seeding, maybe even if some kind of upset happens, it could well decide which teams manage to make it into the playoffs. Only 4 spots in playoffs. I think even down the line as well, something that we maybe haven't discussed enough so far is that there are only 2 spots in Masters, right, in North America. So we've got these 3 teams that we've been talking about. Now is a really good, important moment to say, all right, we are the number 1, number 2 North American team here. We are better than you. Post-Rostermania, we are going to be one of those teams that deserves the spots.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because obviously going back to when it was Tribe, well, it was Tribe versus Simplicity back in Challenge Season 3 when these two were going up against each other. And obviously during the regular season, Tribe got the better of them, but Team Mayhem was able to bounce back in the playoffs. So we'll see if we have the same outcome here, or if maybe Mayhem, the better regular season team, or if Tribe just takes everything on both fronts. And lots of questions heading into this one, but it's Raph getting aggressive on the start toward P1. Obviously, Blur, one of the key players for this Mayhem squad. He has been all out slaying on every front and every match we've seen out of them. Question is, can they convert it into hardpoint time? They do convert it into an opening here on P1.
Yeah, for sure. This is going to be a big map between these two teams. Big start coming out from Mayhem as they garner early control over P1. Rejects, though, with 30 seconds left here. Going to give us at least one more hit. Rabalo looking to triple up with his teammates, but that is a very close quarter gunfight you do not want to take with Mayhem just L-triggering you like the way that they are. One more attempt from Rejects, perhaps, maybe not. And this is what I love to see from some of the top tier teams here in North America, just really generally in professional Call of Duty Mobile, is they're not going to hit this unnecessarily. They're just going to focus with 20 seconds left on making sure they've got the rotation. And they're also kind of overextending somewhat as well in towards O, but only with a couple of players. They're not throwing everything in the kitchen sink at it.
Jez tucked in the top side is going to be able to find one before being taken down. That is as strong a P1 as you will find. Team Mayhem 48-1. And there's a perfectly placed trophy system as well to shut down the Pred missile. But just like that, Cartel is able to find his way on into the hard point, makes the read. Not going to be able to win the gunfight, though. Raph lurking around the backside. Teabag, big-time gunfight win right there. And if Cartels can clear things out, maybe an opportunity for Team Mayhem. He wins the gunfight on the top side. And now all down to S-Thug to try to solo hold.
Now Raph going to get overwhelmed there. Nicely done from S-Thug. Has a little bit of help from his teammates in Solo and Envy, but now the spawns around the back line here for Team Mayhem. They're going to get at least one more shot, perhaps a pinch play as well, with T-Bag getting involved, the new addition to the lineup. Still only one more player to take out of the hill. They can't seem to find him sitting in the corner. S-Thug finally goes down, and now the rejects removed from the hard point here. Valuable 15 seconds worth fighting for. If you make him, fair enough. You get overwhelmed, you do lose it, but you do have control of the rotation. So far, so good as far as the competitive matchup that we were looking for is concerned. Mayhem going to be the first team to touch over by New. 3 operators on side already for Mayhem, so do not be surprised if they come out in defense of this hard point.
They're doing their best to lock down those backside spawns, and those opening gunfights are going to be crucial. Solo looking to push up. He can't make anything out of it. Slow start out of Jez and S-Thug. Only 5 kills for the two of them combined, and I don't know how Raph was able to do that. But he makes it happen right there, and Kings back in the starting lineup for this squad, looking to lock things down with Annihilator in hand. Not going to have eyes on the initial entry, but makes at least 2 out of it right there. Make it 3, clean as can be. One more on the back side. He's not missing until the last one, but that's where it counts most, and Rejects going to be able to break back on in Blur, trying to lock in some of this hard point time. Reinforcements arrive. Can they win the gunfights, though? Yes, they can. Team Mayhem should be able to get the scrap.
Yeah, but now S-Thug is coming back out with an Annihilator of his own. Can only find a double, though. Nicely done from T-Bag to outplay S-Thug in the moment. Big last few seconds of time there as Mayhem walk away with the large majority of time off the back of that hill, and now about a 40 to 50 point advantage over the Rejects. The Rejects now in control of New. Mayhem looking to find their way through. It's Blur and Raph, the first couple of players to try to do something about this. Raph is surely going to be sent away here, as now the investment really starting to come out from the Rejects. I believe that was a Sparrow, followed up by the War Machine, who will actually inevitably get shut down now. Cartels with the claw on the other side here for Mayhem. This is a huge investment to try and garner some of this time. Already 2 kills being made. T-Bag going to find a double of his own. Rejects spawning just on the other side of the hill. Mayhem looking to find their way through.
Equalizer, can he stay alive? No, not a lot of value there, and Jez starting to get going. He was sitting on, what, 5 up until a second ago, but a big feed for Rejects right there. And just like that, they're back in this. Solo. Equalizer for himself. What can he make out of it? They've got a full flood 1 by 1 through that entry, but they're going to be able to at least get contest time right here as Team Mayhem are able to lock that back down. One final contest for Solo. He's going to get shut down, and now the foot race toward P5. It's all Rejects set up around the outside, but a nice little flank here. Opportunity for Cartels to make a play. Can he make the read, though? Big opportunity as Jez peeks over the top and wins it.
Big kills being made right now for Rejects here for this rotation. This has been such a close hard point so far. Back and forth we've gone. Mayhem, though, have been the ones just slightly out in the lead pretty much the entirety of the hard point, and now that might not change here, as a quick break could be devastating for Rejects. They've already found 3 kills. Rejects, though, spawning around the back line, going to continue to hit this hill, and Envy finds a crucial double that enables Rejects to hold control. But Mayhem, never far from the action. Already starting to find kills in the kill feed here. Alone inside the hard point will be Solo. Solo's taken down. S-Thug, can you find your way back through? We'll find one, but the trade is looking pretty good. This has been such an intense hard point between these two teams already, and Mayhem now immediately bleed out.
Back and forth on the inside at P5. Raph's waiting on reinforcements. S-Thug gonna look to contest right here. T-Bag does connect. 18 on the board for him. And he and Kings Blur leading the way right now as Team Mayhem looks like they're going to have free reign for the scrap time right here as Rejects trying to get the setup toward P1. Raph's in the vent, trying to see if he can find a pick to open things up. Should have an audio cue on to Solo, and that's going to be exactly what he's looking for. Envy does pop the claw right there, able to shut him down. Sparrow gets traded out instantaneously, and Rejects hopping back on the point. Solid start right here is Mayhem, nowhere to be found.
Man, these operator usages have just been really the difference makers the entirety of the game so far. They really can make or break a hardpoint control. Now we're seeing one come out from Kings. Earlier on, had a stellar go at things with the Annihilator, now wants to do it again. He's already found 1 kill, has a little bit of support for players coming off the respawn on the other side, but how much more value can he find? Only 1 more kill against Envy before now Rejects are able to hit the hard point once again. Mayhem, a big opportunity for them to pull away here if they can get this time away. Rejects just contesting on the other side of this hill. Blur with a pre-fire around the corner. Envy not going to fall to him this time around. King's going to be there to pick up the slack where his teammate left off. Jess now the last one left alive to try and do something here. He will go down, but again, Rejects getting those close spawns through. They are never far away from the action. So that 30-point deficit that we saw between Mayhem and Rejects at the start of this hill hasn't really changed all that much.
Not at all. Teabagging Cartels locking down the hard point for right now, but they've got to get some control toward that top side. Envy flies from above, takes it out, and that's Solo taking the tower position. Equalizer shut down, and now an opportunity for the Rejects to take the lead right here. S-Thug seeing what he can find with the Annihilator in hand. Shots not going to connect through the smoke right there. Cartel's going to be able to find one to open things up. Solo is going to get dealt with out of tower, and Raph wins that big gunfight in the top side, so should enable them to hop on into the hard point right here and retake the lead.
Yeah, but that was a big 30 seconds for the Rejects. They're now even the odds here as the Team Mayhem now going to have to start to work their way back towards the lead that they had previously. Good start as T-Beg and Blur going to combine for 3. Rejects going to go for a 2-2 split here on the last 15 seconds. They might be better served going for the rotation, and I think Jez and Envy just realized that as well as they moved away from the AA guns and just straight back over towards that rotation. But one player might be out of position. Rejects, do they check for it? Bit of an odd placement. Nobody ever checks the vents. Cartels, no trigger discipline, but at the very least does pick up one. Now make it a second as well. Big value to be found now, and has that opened the door for Mayhem to break early.
Oh, that's a war machine for Blur. What type of value can he find? Roballo taken down by Kings, and that could be the opening for them. Cartels with an opportunity to pinch. He's got the claw in hand. Is he going to apply pressure to the hard point, though? Players on, but they don't have spawn control. They've got to push through toward that opposite side, and that's Cartels finding a 2-piece right there, make it 3, just like that, maybe an opening, but spawns still go the way of Rejects, and Mayhem cannot make anything out of that big investment that we see here. Would have liked to find something beyond the kills, and right now, all they can really hope for is some contest time.
Yeah, those back spawns are way too potent, way too powerful. Rejects know it. Very happy with that one, but T-Bag will actually find 3 over by Old, so that's a very valuable 15 seconds of scrap time. And, well, Team Mayhem, they're finding a ton of kills that they really should not be finding at the moment. Rejects 30 points down. If they give this rotation up to Mayhem, it could spell disaster.
And they didn't look like they were going to be in position, but Rejects rotated so early that it allowed them to cut the map in half, and with Cartels pushing up, them winning the gunfights, Team Mayhem now has an opportunity toward P4 as well. Roballo seeing what he can make out of the war machine right here, still in hand, but Kings with an Annihilator, and they go traded. It is going to be Roballo post-mortem finding a kill, but Team Mayhem, equalizer in hands for Rav, trying to see what they can lock down. Over-aggressive toward that window, hop through. Contained and contested for a time being, but Cartels traded out right there, and this is a tough point of entry for Team Mayhem. They've got to establish some control if they want to find any hard point time.
Big 25 seconds here for Rejects. You have to have it. Have to make sure you take Mayhem away from the kill, but smoke grenades, not great to try and take all these players down. I'll tell you what, though, is the operators coming out from Rejects. The Sparrow will finish off a flurry of kills for the Rejects to garner all this time. And now the spawns, certainly not in favor of Mayhem. Only one player is anywhere near close towards the rotation, and it was Cartels, who ends up losing the gunfight to Solo. So Rejects now in a really good spot. Mayhem are an absolute Narnia comparatively to where this hill actually is. There is a real good chance here, Bobby, that they can get back into this game.
Absolutely perfectly played. That is about as good of a P4 as you will see. Envy through the smoke. Absolutely beaming right there. Cartels looking to play the vents, but Team Mayhem cannot find any semblance of map control. There's one player on the flank, though. It looks like it's going to be T-Bag looking to make a play right here. He's able to find one. Can they find entry into the hard point? One player there, one player on the outside lurking for this Reject squad. Annihilator still yet to be dealt with, and there's S-Thug able to find a kill, but the trades go through. Blur with the war machine for himself. He's going to be able to hop through the window. What type of value can he find? Trying to zone, but there's no nobody close by for the Rejects, and he's not able to connect for anything right there.
Yeah, Rejects, though, going to find 3 kills. Big gunfights be going off right now. 15 seconds left in this hill. That is gold dust as far as the end of this game is concerned. Team Mayhem just 28 points shy of victory, and they do not have control of the rotation towards Nu. 2 players already sitting in here. Cartel's hitting this a little bit prematurely. Wants to wait, ideally, for the rest of the team to make their way over before they move on to what could be the final kill here in this game. Rejects already in here. Envy going to find the double solo for another one, and Rejects, they've got the first wave of gunfights.
The feed has just been yellow for the last minute and a half. Mayhem hemorrhaging right here, trying not to give up the lead, but can't find an avenue into the hard point solo. Going to be able to clear things off with an equalizer in hand, and nobody's looking to push right here. Maybe finally an opportunity to push through the backside, but the War Machine shut down by the trophy, and it's too late. Not gonna make a difference. Rejects close the gap and take the map.
Wow, right at the end of the game. I mean, Mayhem had control of the game for basically the entirety of it. A 40 to 50 point advantage that just would not go away until a, what was it, P4 hole, I want to say, P4. Coming out from Rejects, where they held it for basically the entirety of the time. And it's worth saying that there was a response from Mayhem, and that response was to not hit through like you normally would see teams do, to try and hit through the P2 side. They instead went for a wraparound all the way through P3, and that time cost them a ton of points to the Rejects that the Rejects ended up, I mean, in the end, that probably is what won the game.
No question about it. To be off to as strong of a start as they were, it seemed like maybe a hope that the hard point was drastically improving for Team Mayhem once again. This not being a map that we've gotten to see them play a whole lot. But man, just as clinical of a P4 as you will see, and the spawn control was just untouchable at every turn for this Reject squad. Started off a little bit slow, but once players started to get going, there was not a whole lot that went wrong for them. The operator usage was nearly perfect at every turn, and they closed the gap. Obviously, this is where things really started to go south on that chain, over from P3 to P4, and they did a phenomenal job of minimizing any time for Mayhem on P3 as well.
Yeah, I gotta say as well, something that you're seeing throughout the highlight package there is the fact that pretty much every single operator from these teams did not go wasted. Every single one had some kind of use to one way or another to have some kind of break in towards a hard point. So a really good high-level play coming out from these teams, exactly what we would expect. But here we look at the end of game stats. You got a feel for Kings, 43 and 35. He wasn't playing from last week versus LG. He is playing from now versus Rejects, and thank goodness for that, because he is playing on top form. T-Bag 38 and 34 as well. Raf 33 and 30. Those guys, I mean, pretty much everyone across the board for Mayhem is having a good game besides Cartels. So it's a rough one for them to come out and lose it.
Would love to see Blur find ways to get more involved, because only having 53 engagements relative to what we saw out of everybody else is very, very low, especially on a map like that where you're having that much impact as an AR and you're holding down those longer lanes. He's got to find more ways to get involved, especially if you're not going to be on the hard point. So that's one thing that I'd like to see change out of that Mayhem squad. That's one of the things. He's always going to be a high KD player, but are those kills finding an impact in the game? And it felt like, especially toward the end, they were not. So now we head into the Search and Destroy, which absolutely feels like a must-win map for Mayhem. The Search and Destroy in general being their path to victory. It's a Tunisia map that we have not seen very often, so we'll see what they've got in their pockets as they get ready to head into this one.
Yeah, for sure. We haven't seen it really at all from these rosters, right? I think we've probably seen it a few times at Champs, but beyond that, against each other, it was not played. So it'll be interesting to see kind of what the strategies look like for these rosters again, especially as we're looking at these rosters kind of post-roster mania, as it were, to see kind of what the entries look like onto these sites and such. I will say, across Search and Destroy on the whole, again, a reminder as to what happened the last time these two teams faced off, it went to round 20. So could well happen again. We would love a round 20 over time.
I wouldn't be
Search and Destroy. It would be pretty cool to see between these two teams, especially after that hard point, which was an insane hard point. I think probably the closest hard point we've had all season,
probably
so far, even between both of the regions. So far, Mayhem versus Rejects is delivering on every single front. But now we get into the Search and Destroy, and kind of the question remains, Does the search and destroy prowess that we saw from Rejects in that matchup, that fateful matchup for Mayhem over at Champs, does that translate now into this one on Tunisia versus Mayhem?
Last time I can think of either of these teams playing Tunisia was actually map 5 of the regular season between LG and Tribe at the time, and that was coming off the backs of Tribe absolutely steamrolling them in a takeoff hardpoint, and they started off the Tunisia 3-0, and then LG 7-0'd the rest of it.
Which is obviously the course for LG, right?
That was also a very different Tribe squad, because that was with Forsaken, that was with Space, and that was also with maybe one other player that I'm blank. No, Bolu wasn't playing at the time, but once again, very different roster. They didn't have Envy at the time, and Envy's coming from an LG team that feels very, very confident on Tunisia Search and Destroy, so maybe something that he brings to the table as well.
Yeah, and that can't be understated as well. Again, I mentioned it very briefly during kind of the pre-match talk, but Envy, what he brings to this roster, just in terms of raw slaying value, it cannot be understated. And this is a Rejects roster that, by the way, had already beaten Mayhem 2-1 in that prior matchup. I know I'm putting a lot of weight here on that matchup, but I think it deserves it just because of the stakes that were on that matchup. I mean, it was I think it was for elimination, I want to say, during Champs. So it was a pretty big matchup at the time, and they were definitely taking it seriously. So to see Envy now come into this roster, I think he brings a lot to the team. If they were that good then, I'm excited to see what they look like now. Rejects, I don't think they've played any of the top teams yet. They only played NBA and Sane, I want to say. So this is their first real test, and I'm liking what we're seeing so far.
Yeah, definitely crucial regain out of them on that first map. Let's see if it carries through here to map number 2. Obviously, the sniper presence is going to be one of the big things you want to keep an eye on, and having Kings back in the starting lineup could be big time for Team Mayhem. Looks like an aggressive push on over toward A, and that's going to be Solo opening things up with a shot onto Raph. Oh my gosh, Envy with a 2-piece right there. Not really known as a sniper, but making quick work of those 2 Mayhem snipers, and just like that, all down to Cartels and Teabag. Cartel's going to be able to find 1, so at least keeps hope in the round alive. Teabag's going to need to hit some big shots right here. Rabalo does not have an angle on that entry point. But audio cues should have been given away off of that one. Smokes go across, and now trying to make something out of nothing, but Rabalo reads it all down to Teabag. It would need to be a 1v4. He's going to be able to find 2 right there, but with only 15 seconds remaining, not much for him to work with as he looks to push through and get shut down.
Great start coming out from Rejects, getting early control of the site. Of course, Collat Snipe probably does help the situation a fair bit as Mayhem not able to win that round out. Big start coming out from Envy. 3 kills in that first round. Unconventional, as you say, to see him handle the sniper, but we'll see whether he can find any more value out of it into this round. Going head-to-head with Blur in the middle of the map and wasn't quite ready for the pre-aim. Cartel's getting aggressive here, and that's a great call from Rejects to realize that's exactly what's happening.
Now there's nobody watching over on that B site, so should be open for Rejects if they want it. One player watching that initial entrance from stairs, Jez, making his way across, doesn't want any part of it. And he's going to be able to take down Teabag. Did not miss a bullet right there. Now it's Team Mayhem, a man down, looking for the retake. One player from mid, one player looking to rejoin him right here as they clear out each of these angles, but Rejects are fully focused in right here. And the longer that Mayhem take, the more difficult this is going to be. Kings obviously got the information, but Rabalo's going to be able to slide across, avoid any type of angle that he could potentially play. And with Blur dropping right there, this should be a guaranteed round for the Rejects.
Should be. Never want to count anybody out in the situation, although I think I could probably put my caster curse down for the moment, as Kings is not going to do any more than just the first initial trade. And yeah, I think you mentioned it early on in the round. As soon as Rejects take, I think it was Cartels down, that was getting hyper-aggressive through the defensive or the offensive spawn, they know that they've got basically a free bomb site to themselves. And that information, that gift is just too much for Mayhem to bet. Rejects starting very strong here in the session. I think Jez got 4 in the last round. Does a follow-up look like here in the next one? Well, unfortunately, Kings is going to take himself out of the play. That's going to leave just 2 players on the point. Blur, though, looking good to at least trade back 1, but the trades are going in favor of Rejects on the whole, as now they've got the numbers and the bomb site.
Definitely an odd map to take yourself out on, given the nade angles that exist and whatnot, but unfortunately it will strike for Team Mayhem and left scrambling once again. Rejects will look to plant right here, and right now Team Mayhem just hoping they get over aggressive. You got Cartels with an R9 in hand, but only so much use that you're going to be able to find out of that. Does have a nade that he's saved. So if he can avoid the trophies, maybe an opportunity, but I think a collat right there for Blur turns things into a 2v2. And an opportunity at a 2v4 retake right here. Envy in the top side, sniper in hand, Cartels clearing off angles with that shotgun. Will he make the read onto Solo? He doesn't have to. Blur does it himself. He's going to go ahead, Overwatch right here, and he gets the shot onto Envy as well. All 4 kills on the retake, and Blur single-handedly wins the round for Team Mayhem.
And Blur just knew exactly where to look. Every single kill, certainly the last one was an insane one. Recognizing exactly where the bomb is planted for and just keeping an eye on where that player is going to pop out. Blur saves the round, not to mention the second collat that we've seen so far in 3 rounds of Search and Destroy, by the way. Now I want to see that same kind of success on the defense here into round number 4. Mayhem giving up a lot of space. T-Bag going to have to back away from B. At the very least, he does preserve his life, but the bomb now has been given up.
They're content to give up the plant right here. A lot of utility used for Rejects, and I don't think a ton used for Mayhem, so we'll see what type of pressure they can apply. Obviously, not going to be able to make their way through the bottom side of that mid-map area. But Raf's able to tuck away with a shotgun in hand. Beautiful shots out of Kings and Cartels. They take down a couple. Jez is able to find one, but instantly traded now all down to Solo. He's a 1v4 right here and can't make the last shot land. I don't even think Kings was 1 HP. It looked like he was lower than that, but wins the gunfight anyway. And Team Mayhem bounced back to tie things up.
A really nice team play coming out from Team Mayhem. They collapse on the bomb site all at once. Close quarter gun battles go in their favor. Just a closer for Search and Destroy as we got on the hard point so far. 2 for 2 we go. Where do Rejects want to take the bomb this time around? It's going to be an A hit. Hopefully no team kills from Mayhem this time. It would require a Blur clutch up. But all things will calm down for the moment. Raf, just chilling. Waiting for somebody to cross his path. S-Thug just around the corner. As soon as he peeks out, he's dead.
Blur looking for the jump shot angle. And surely Jez has at least heard that and can relay the information. May look to get aggressive right here if he hears a slight delay. But with Raf tucked away in this corner, there's not much. And there it is. Jez takes down Blur right there. And the opening that Rejects are looking for once again. The bomb starts to make the wrap toward A. Doesn't fully commit right here. Raf has still got to get dealt with, and he's going to be able to find 1. Nearly makes it 2, but does the damage for at least 1 to fall. Cartel's tucked away in that topside position, but all down to T-Bag right here as Solo and Jez remain. He's all the way on the opposite side of the map. They're instantly going to go for the plant right here, and he's trying to see if he can find an angle. Does have one onto Jez, but can't quite connect for the kill. And that's going to be Solo instantly peeking to shut things down.
Look, I know there's a woulda, coulda, shoulda asterisk to this, as there always is, but if you had a little bit more trigger discipline there in that 1 versus 2, just wait a little bit longer, you might have been able to catch the bomb planter off and pull off the 1 versus 2, but not to beat. Rejects after a stellar entry onto the site. Close out the round. Now, once again, same strategy this time. Team Mayhem 3 stacking it. And again, aggressive as well. This is super duper aggressive coming out. Envy already going to take advantage of the first for the first frag. Raballo going to pick up the second as well. And that's why you don't generally see teams do this. Mayhem now have to fully invest in towards A. And as Envy picks up another kill, now a rotation away from the site isn't even required. Blur down for the count. 1v5. T-Bag, good luck, have fun, mate.
Yeah, Cartels just panics right there, and once he gets caught out, not much they can do. Rejects looking strong on the offensive side. We go ahead and flip sides right here to see what Mayhem can do in response. And especially with one of those rounds basically single-handedly coming at the hands of Blur, you can't feel super confident about the way things are going, and even less so given the fact that they have left the bomb in spawn. Team Mayhem, and maybe that's a calculated move to try to miscue those tribe or rejects players, whatever it would be. Teabag looking to get pushed up right here, and S-Thug playing that same tight quarter. He does not read it one bit, and neither is Kings.
Nice play from S-Thug. Not ready for that whatsoever. We're Kings and Teabag. And I also kind of like this play from Jez, not getting hyper-aggressive. Despite the fact that you've spotted Raf out, you know that Raf's got the better weapon in the situation. You know that if anybody's going to be using an R9, it's going to be Raf. Solo just trying to put some bullets through the wall. It's going to take a while for those bullets to travel through the concrete, so it's not going to get there anytime soon. Mayhem now going to have to go back and retrieve the bomb. It does feel like at the very least they've got some kind of path here towards a plant over by B if they can get past Envy. That's a big if, though.
Blur's just going to sit here and hope for a pick, but he's getting really aggressive right here and in a risky position. Solo's continuing to try to find some info through that wall. Blur just hoping for a first blood to create a little bit of breathing room for this Mayhem squad, and he's just going to lurk all the way through. Can't connect for the first shot onto Solo, does make the second one happen, and able to get away with his life. With Cartels lurking through mid-map, might be an opportunity, but Robalo shuts him down. Trade for Raf right there. And there's still hope in this round as Mayhem are able to bring it into a 2v3 with only 19 seconds. You got to make a move right here. Envy's going to be able to take down Raf, and now all down to Blur. Needs a 1v3, and S-Thug says not today.
Man.
It's not over yet. Ready up.
If anyone was going to pull that off, it would be Blur, to be honest, with the sniper rifle, but it's just not to be. Rejects with the numbers overwhelm Mayhem. Now just 2 rounds away from a 7-2 victory here in Search and Destroy. Very, very different look to what we saw the last time these two teams faced off in a competitive setting. And Rejects playing heavy aggressive on towards the A site this time around. Raf looking for an unconventional route for the middle of the map. Finds it with the first frag versus Robalo. No reaction here except from S-Thug, who sits in the corner and waits for the players to push through. And I think they get more than they bargained for here as Mayhem just kind of fall into the laps.
Just so many predictable approaches from that open entry toward the A side, and they're not able to make anything out of it. King's not going to be able to clean up the kill right there. And once again, left for Blur to try to find some sort of god shot out of this situation. Envy's got the read on the AR in the topside position, and now it's Blur down to 1v3. Does have that nade in hand, but the bomb has dropped. And Rejects should have an idea what the position is on that. Nobody actually waiting around, but you got one player deep, deep in spawn. They may very well be playing for an execution right here. Not sure what it is, but very, very unusual out of position angles.
Could you imagine an execution in this caliber of matchup? That would be something to write home about, wouldn't it?
Yep.
Again, I'll say it once, so I'll say it again. If anyone's going to pull off a 1 versus X on Mayhem, it's going to be Blur. 8 kills to his name already. Might as well add 3 to the tally to try and keep any hope of winning this Search and Destroy alive. Just being careful. And Jez, I thought for a second there, to be honest, of how long he was L-triggering. I was like, you sly dog.
He could have done it too. He had plenty of time, especially with the plant just starting, but Team Mayhem looking slightly shambolic here on Tunisia as they have not managed anything on the offensive side, and now on the brink of going down 2-0 to Mayhem, and what else but a perfect read out of Rejects. My gosh, could not have been played any better. Down to 2 players once again. And Blur looking for a miracle. It's been the case for Lord knows how many rounds. Bomb's tucked away in a corner, and Cartels is just hoping that somebody over-aggresses right here. They very well, but you cannot let that happen. Blur is able to find 1, but not 2, and Rejects 7-2 Search and Destroy. I don't know how much longer we can make the argument that S&D is the mode of Mayhem, because it certainly did not look like it there.
What did Solo just do?
That was...
Dude. Oh, get that one in the replay package, please. Oh, goodness me. Relatively close search and destroy, I think, early on, right? I think they were trading rounds back and forth. Rejects on the offense, kind of just struggling, I guess, at least at first, to find ways in towards the bomb sites. But one thing was definitely sure throughout. It was the team play that Rejects was winning out time and time again. And the rounds that Mayhem did win were generally down to individual heroics from players such as Blur, such as Wrath, coming out and, you know, pulling off kills that really they shouldn't be pulling off. But when Rejects, I think, really started to hammer the point home that, hey, this is our search and destroy, I don't know if Mayhem stood a chance. And again, this is a very, very different look to what we saw in that 2-1 victory for Rejects back at Champs, where it went to overtime round 20. This is just, back then it was like a stalemate. You know, we were looking for the smallest thing to change. This time around, Rejects are convincing in their victory.
Yup. Looking very, very confident, and I mean, if they continue at this pace, making a strong case for themselves as a top 2 team in North America. Blur doing everything he could, 9-7 right there, but the rest of the squad just not keeping up, and consistency across the board for Rejects, exactly what you would expect. Having Envy really showing up with the sniper and made a big impact to open things up on the front side for them and showing some versatility. Just such a big pickup for the squad.
Yeah, absolutely. We've been saying it, and we'll keep on saying it until the cows come home. Envy is a solid pickup for this team. He only serves to improve the roster, and I think in a situation where you've got kind of a deadlock, right, between the likes of Rejects and Mayhem, and now maybe Truly joining in that conversation as well, as like, we are just trying to take down LG. That is our entire purpose at the moment, is just trying to become the #1 domestic North American team, to start challenging some of the top tier rosters around the globe over at Masters. Picking up Envy is step #1 to doing exactly that. They're looking really, really good versus Mayhem at the moment. The hard point might have been extremely close. That search and destroy was not. And now moving forward in towards the control, again, you know, I think this is still looking like a pretty close series. I don't think Rejects are going to run away with it by any means, but we need to start seeing some of that kind of team play that we saw in map #1 from Mayhem if they want to come back and reverse sweep.
Yeah, it's, I mean, obviously a must-win right here, because you lose and the series is over, but the Crossroads strike, they looked solid on last week. I don't know how much more we can keep pointing back to last week, because it just seems to have kind of gone out the window, as it is going to be Rejects on the defense to get things started right here. And Jez, or actually on the offense to get things started, they clear out the entirety of the mid-map right there, and they full stack onto A. Looks like 1 tick already locked in right here. And Mayhem forced way back, panicking, trying to find some route onto the objective. That's going to be Teabag, able to find 1, instantly traded out, and now finally they're able to fight back. They get things cleared off over on A, but just like that, the Rejects hot B.
And Rejects doing a really good job at the moment, kind of spreading the defense as thin as possible, but you got to be careful about players potentially making flanks happen. Teabag did just try exactly that, but Rabalo going to shut them down. So Rejects, slowly but surely, and they're making this B capture happen. Mayhem's going to have to put a stop to it pretty darn quickly. And they just can't seem to do so. Finally, as a couple of kills do come through from Teabag and Blur, now maybe an opportunity has presented itself here from Mayhem. They have to get on the flank, because it won't be long before B has been captured. Now the kill's starting to come through. Finally, Jez is removed from the point. They were just a sliver of progression away from capturing B, but they are finally denied it.
They've locked in a decent chunk of life lead right here. Envy's going to be able to hop, but they're content to play TDM and try to keep things cleared over toward A. Couple do go through for Rejects here. Envy trying to play his life to the best of his ability. Solo with the hip fire on the R9. Not typically the route that you see. Blur clears out 1 before getting traded by an A. The lives start to get closer. Cartel's over the top side, though, goes big. Kings finds another. That lead has built back up to 6. Rejects do hop on, but down 5 lives. They've got to be careful as can be. Teabag's going to be able to clear out one. Trades do go the opposite direction, but now no respawns remaining for Rejects. They've got to get it locked in right here. Will Mayhem hop the objective in time? There's not enough time.
Wow.
They 5-stack it in 5 to 10. They still take the round.
You cannot let that happen. And that is a product, by the way, of Rejects early on in that control. Despite the fact that they were at a life disadvantage, making progress on both of the points when required. That is why it is so important here in control. That is something you cannot let happen if you're Mayhem, and you will be kicking the floor at that fact that it did. And now you have to have a quick response. If you're a Mayhem, you have to have a quick start to this round where you can try and capture one of these points early. Whether or not that will be the case, though, very, very different story. Is Rejects, I don't think they were even really ready for what happened towards the end of that round. But at the start of this one, doing a really good job at the moment at keeping Team Mayhem at bay. No progression made just yet. Solo over the top here with the R9. Finds the first kill. Now slide out for the second. Raballo is there to pick things up. Rejects, they've got control at A. Mayhem, I like the reaction from them, at least for the moment now, sending players over towards the B side.
They do a great job of hopping the objective before that tick of progression gets locked in. So Mayhem still nothing to work with, and Raf's just trying to avoid the spawn trap right now. Raballo's going to be able to clear all the way through. It was actually Raf being pesky in the opposition spawn, but Mayhem have still not made anything out of it. Raballo, S-Thug, operators have been popped. S-Thugs is going to run out, but Raballo's still got something to work with, and now it's Rejects taking the life advantage. And with no ticks of progression, the pressure continues to build onto Mayhem, and they have not found an avenue onto either of these objectives for a minute. Blur's going to be able to pick a couple right there. But if you don't hop the objective, it doesn't mean a thing. Yeah,
that is great operator utilization coming out from Rejects just right at the start of this round, because it's given them now a 6 life advantage. The Mayhem are going to struggle to bring back to 0. A unified team push, I think, is Mayhem's probably best chance in this round towards one of these points. Honestly, at this point, I wouldn't even try to spread your forces thin in an attempt to even the lives out, because that's just not going to work at this stage of the round. 5 versus 11 now, and you don't just have one of the points to capture like Rejects did on their offensive effort. Teabag out of the round now. Mayhem sent back towards the respawn point. Is anything left in the attack here with 10 seconds left? Somebody's got a touch. Kings and Cartels, they're down for the count. Raf and Blur, the last remaining players left. Raf will find a double, but when you're in a 1 versus 8 scenario, you're really just asking for a miracle, and that's not going to happen as Blur not able to produce, and Rejects off the back of that early operate utilization and the life advantage there on out, able to win the round.
Obviously, you got Blur with those 12 kills, but once again, just pretty much sitting in that sniper's nest position for the entirety of the round. When you need to get players into position to get on the objective, you got to be able to make those adjustments. Is able to find first blood right there, but having somebody so separated from the rest of the action has resulted in Mayhem not having any mid-map control for pretty much both of these rounds. And even when they could find it on the back half of that first round, couldn't make anything out of it as they give up the objective capture. Got to make adjustments. They open things up with some solid kills, and they're able to build a life lead right here. I don't know that Raf has seen Envy around the backside of boxes right here, but he is going to be able to pick up at least 2 and keeps the Rejects spawning at bay.
Yeah, this has been a much better round out of Mayhem. No opportunity for Rejects to get any progression on either of these points whatsoever. Rejects haven't even been able to get past square one, which previously in that round number 1 was the case of them splitting the defensive line of Mayhem up across the map. But Raf is now doing some serious damage. Finally going to get taken down of what was a pretty long spree in and around the defensive build. And now Solo finds the double. That might well have been the broken defense here. Solo going to find 4 in a row. And now, despite being an 11 versus 17, this might be the swing back for momentum. Solo, now with the equalizers, he wants to single-handedly disrupt the defense.
And he may very well do it. Has completely wiped off Mayhem and sent their defense to a reset right here. Cartel's tucked away in the corner, trying to avoid the equalizer. He's able to do it, but they give up A completely for free. And with their lack of mid-map control, now an opportunity for Rejects to make the rotation on over to B. At least one player cut off on the way over, but S-Thug's going to pop the Annihilator to see what he can find right here. Cartels is going to be able to find one. Raballo, the opposite direction, finding one for himself. And S-Thug not going to be able to find a whole lot of value out of this. I'm not sure a single kill for him. and he's just making sure there's no flank setup as the players do get set up onto B. Team Mayhem have got to counter.
They're on the point, double stacking here, are they? And it's going to be a double kill coming through from Envy. King's on the other side now. He's got the Annihilator out, picked up the first kill, just waiting for another player to peek. And there it is versus Jez. That's 4 in a row for him. And I think that's probably this round dismantled. Making another one for Kings, just adding insult to injury at this point. S-Thug for a 1v6. Wouldn't this be nice? In a dream world, maybe. But this isn't dream world, this is reality. Team Mayhem going to win a round and put themselves on the board here. And a big difference between that round number 1 and round number 3 again. Team Mayhem did not let a reject split them on the defense. They made sure they stayed in their spawn pretty much at all times.
The question is, can Mayhem find something here on the offensive side that's going to have an impact for them to hop the objective early? They do get one player on, but nobody has read Solo right here, and he should be able to find at least one on the push through. There it is. The kill goes through, but the trades are there. And that's the start that Mayhem are looking for as they get one player onto A as well. Blur hopping the objective, getting a little bit more involved, getting in the mix, and that is going to be the start that gives them the opening to find 2 ticks of progression onto A. Solo looking for a flank right here, but that's not a gun with a whole lot of range, and Cartel's going to be able to take him down very nearly a full capture. It looks like Reject's going to be able to get rid of that last tick of progression, but regardless, a solid start here for Mayhem.
Yeah, to a certain extent, to be honest, if you're Rejects, this is, yeah, you've saved A, but it's not exactly the end of the world if you lose it, because it focuses your progression, or focuses your attention, I should say, over towards B. You do not want to let Mayhem split you on the defense, split your attention between both of these 2 points, and now Mayhem looking to make their way over towards B. They want to do exactly that. Big 1v1 here for Raf versus S-Thug, and Raf's going to win it. Playing his life almost perfectly. Envy now forced to utilize the Claw in an attempt to make a flanking from behind. On the other side, we've got Teabag utilizing the Sparrow. A lot of operators now coming out between these 2 teams. Rejects, though, you've got to imagine, are better for it, considering they now have a 6 life advantage, and Mayhem are stuck in their spawn.
And they've got to use all their operators at this point. Down 6 lives, and you got to find an avenue onto the objective. Raf's able to find one onto Robalo. Cartels has popped the Claw right here. Is he going to be able to find anything out of it? The lives continue to go the way of Rejects. And Raf doing his best to try to find somebody from this squad, finally gets the read onto Jez and gets the kill, but such minimal value as they finally lock in A. They only have one good push onto B. The question is, what can they make out of it? Teabag finds the opening right there, but instantly traded with Envy earning a pred. It's going to take a miracle for Mayhem to win the round.
Yeah, surely that Predator missile just comes down pretty much straight away. Yeah, that's exactly the case here. Envy going to pick up Raf with that one. So Cartels, Kings, what do you got for us here? Cartels, nothing. Kings, 1 versus 9, please. Order up. No, Kings is going to be denied. And Rejects 3-1 here in the control. A 3-0 in the series. That is a statement victory for them.
Absolutely, and I think Mayhem are going to look back at that control and see a lot of different scenarios where things could have gone very differently. I think especially you look at that 10-5 life differential, and they lose the round because you don't have anybody in position to clear off the objective. And Rejects take the game, take the match. That is, like you said, a statement win right there over a team that swept them twice in NA playoffs. And they are absolutely looking like a completely different team right now.
Oh, we've been asking questions, right? I mean, where do Mayhem and Rejects lie in the grand scheme of things in the power rankings post-Rostermania for spots for top 4 for playoffs, for spots for Masters eventually as well. And this is a whole new look for Rejects coming out here and convincingly winning the Search and Destroy, coming out here and I would even argue convincingly winning this control as well. The Hardpoint was the only map in the series where really it felt close between these 2 teams. Rejects, I love this new look Rejects roster, man. I want to see what they do versus LG.
They're looking dangerous. I'm not gonna lie. It's that's definitely gonna be the matchup to watch. And I think also the question has to be begged. Are Mayhem top 3 in NA anymore? Like, is there a possibility that they've been surpassed by Truly just based on the gap between these teams that we just saw? I think that match is going to be a really big one to watch as well.
We've got some big questions when it comes to our top 4 after this match, which means in the coming weeks, when we finally get to see some of those head-to-heads, they're going to be really, really interesting. At the end of it all, though, I mean, Rejects, LG, such strong performances on the day today. We knew they were going to be at the top, but they look extra scary now.
Yeah, I mean, LG, they've looked scary for a while, right? I mean, they look scary. I think it was just a case of, for LG, we were looking for reaffirmation that they are just as scary as they were before. They've lost none of that scare factor. For Rejects, I think it has been a case of how much scarier do they look now with Envy? And I think they've sharpened their teeth quite a lot, especially compared to Rejects, where it just feels like a lot of the holes in their gameplay, when we look back towards Champs, they seem to have been rectified quite significantly. Their control looks more convincing. For them to be able to capitalize on a mistake, like what we saw in round number 1 from Team Mayhem, I think is super important, right? And when you come up against these top teams, even the top teams make those mistakes sometimes. So I think being able to recognize that that is something that they can do is a real big difference maker, I think, for this Rejects roster. I'm loving it. I love this roster.
Well, it was a good day. We got lots of decisive victories here today, whether they were on stream or they were our off stream matches. But at the end of it all, it's creating an even bigger disparity when we're looking forward to those upcoming weeks for the rest of the challenge season, because the teams that were already doing well and that were already at the top did not falter this week, giving themselves so much more cushion, which they didn't need. It's more the fact that anyone who is now down towards the bottom is going to be in such a rough patch to even try to make it into that bubble for top 4 for challenge finals. So.
Yeah, it's definitely a really tough spot for the rest of the teams, and obviously Team NBA with that forfeit are likely just out of the running completely. So in the upcoming weeks, obviously, we are going to focus that much more on those big time matchups, because those are matchups, even though they may not be impacting whether or not a team's making the playoffs, it's impacting seeding, which is obviously going to play a huge role as well. How does one team compare up against another? What's the head-to-head look like? What do their map pools look like? And it's going to create for a really, really fun playoffs.
Yeah, definitely. I am excited to see the map pools in particular, because next week, I don't think there's any excuse once you get into week 3 that you haven't started rectifying the map pools, your vetoes against some of these top teams. You know where the strongest maps are. At this point, if you don't, I think that's kind of on you. So.
Yeah, lots of fine tuning in the weeks to come to really perfect their gameplay heading into those challenge finals. But we'll take a look at what happened tonight, those final scores for what we saw here on stream. Like we said, 3-0s across the board. Lots of these teams really dominating their performances. Not surprising, considering we saw lots of heavy hitters and Truly, LG, Rejects. So this is where we ended up. But the bigger visual is where it's affecting the leaderboard, like we mentioned, because that's going to be when you start to see the bigger disparity. We even had some teams after last week that had only gotten one match under their belts. We were waiting to see what would happen, where that was going to shake out. Right now, Luminosity and the Rejects 4-0, 3-0 respectively at the top, Truly 2-1. And you know, you mentioned this, Bobby. You said that Disciples might end up being up in that top 4, and they're there right now.
They are there right now. Given the performance they put up against Luminosity, I don't have high hopes that they will stay there. But once again, if they can somehow take a series off of either Truly or Mayhem, there's absolutely a chance that they could make playoffs. It's a very, very tall task. I think you look at the difference in the talent level between them and the rest of the top 4, and I think it's going to be, not going to say insurmountable, but it's going to take a lot of work and dedication, but it's 100% a possibility.
The bubble is going to be close, Brody, as we're looking at, 4 and 5. The big thing is, will the Team Mayhems be able to bounce back? There's still matches, lots of matches to be able to be had that can turn around and change those stats, or do they start getting in their own heads and, making those smaller mistakes?
Yeah, I will say, I think the thing is with Mayhem here is you've had a really tough run-in this season, right?
Oh, yeah.
Right from the rip, you've had to face Luminosity and Rejects, and you got 3-0 by both, right? I don't think Mayhem, with the amount of talent and veteranship that they've got inside, would be easily dissuaded by losing to those teams. Because, in their heads, all they've got to think is, all right, we've got to get a playoffs, and we get another shot at them, and we can improve and go again.
Yeah.
And hopefully be better next time around. I honestly don't see Mayhem looking at it any other way, to be honest.
Well, it'll be an exciting week 3 and 4. to say the least. All right, so you have to make sure you're constantly tuning in so you don't miss a single second of what happens, because the way this season unfolds is about to get really spicy. If you somehow do miss it, though, one final reminder, you can follow us on social media, on X, Insta, and Facebook for all of our updates related to the Snapdragon Pro Series, or you can join our Discord at discord.gg/Snapdragon Pro Series to join the community, hang out with us, and talk all things Call of Duty Mobile. But it's almost time for us to say goodbye, and before we do, give me some final thoughts, Brody.
Man, I was really hoping we saw a Game 5 on stream today. I really thought that last match was going to be it. I thought we were going to finally see some crazy matchup. And to be fair, while it was a very close 3-0, we still cannot escape the 3-0s, guys. Come on.
You're zooming.
One Game 5.
I feel like next week we have to have at least one. I don't remember what the matchups are, but surely there has to be at least one that we've got that's not going to be a 3-0.
Truly, surely. The truly matchups have to be like...
Is that
versus Rejects and Mayhem?
Yes, it was. But yeah, Truly versus Mayhem has to go to Game 4 at least. If it doesn't, I don't know. I don't know what to do anymore.
And then Rejects versus Luminosity is not till the last week, right?
I think so, yeah.
I feel like that was purposeful.
Yeah, that was definitely calculated, because that was the game of the season during Challenge Season 3. So I understand why they did that. That was a good decision. I agree.
AKA just more reasons that you have to keep tuning in every single week so that you know how all of this is playing out, because right now the leaderboard is getting increasingly stacked at the top, which means that we're really going to start focusing down on that bubble area in the coming weeks. So you have to make sure you're tuning in to find out how all of it is going. As always, a huge thank you to Snapdragon Elite Gaming, Samsung Galaxy, Monster Energy, DHL, and the U.S. Air Force for helping us make this whole thing possible. And thank you to everybody at home for hanging out and watching with us. We'll see you next week.
The Snapdragon Pro Series powered by Samsung Galaxy is brought to you by Snapdragon Elite Gaming, Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra, Monster Energy, DHL, and the U.S. Air Force.
Welcome to the place where dreams come true, where everything you want can be yours, if and only if you're willing to work for them, you're willing to hurt for them, but most of all, you're willing to be first for them. Ha! Look, I'm going straight to the top. I don't know how I would stop, like it or not. I got some goals that I'm hitting. You hear what I'm spitting, it's hot. Look what I got, whole lot of passion and pain. The road to success is insane. Stay out my lane, cause I'm on a mission. I'm getting what stands in my way. Yeah, I'm a beast. I wouldn't play with me, baby. The way that I'm training is crazy, and I do it daily. You wanna talk about drive? I got more drive than Mercedes. I've never been lazy. I'm in the room, it's a red alert. You wanna compete? Well, get better first. I got 10 toes in the dirt. Push through the hurt just to show them my worth. I'm the best. Yeah, I'm the best. I never stress. I know what's next. I'm who they test, like we playing chess. But I'm unimpressed, so now let me flex. Ha, yeah, I'ma work through the struggle and hurt, cause I know my worth, and I gotta be first. Ha, yeah, I gotta be first. Look, I don't want anyone's sympathy. I understand what it's meant for me. I give my focus and energy. If it's meant to be, then it's meant to be. But mentally, I'm undefeated. They hear that and say I'm conceited. Like there's no reason. Like I don't beat them and come back again just to teach them that when you work under pressure, you reach higher measures. They'll try and bring you down, but you cannot let them, and only get better and focus on cheddar. Eye on the prize and you'll become a legend. Like, when I'm in the room, it's a red alert. You wanna compete, well, get better first. I got 10 toes in the dirt. Push through the hurt just to show them my worth. I'm the best. Yeah, I'm the best. I never stress. I know what's next. I'm who they test, like we playing chess. But I'm unimpressed, so now let me flex. Ha, yeah, I'ma work through the struggle and hurt, cause I know my worth, and I gotta be first. Ha, yeah, I gotta be first. They don't know what's gotten into me, how'd I turn pain into energy. Through all the struggle and hurt, remember my worth, and that's why I gotta be first.